There we go. What's happening, everybody? Happy Wednesday night. It's time. It's Wednesday night, so it's obviously time for happy hour. Because what else? What else would you do on a Wednesday night? I gotta make this thing public so you all can see it. There it is. We're live. Fred Hodge is in the house. Fred, do you go by Fred, Freddie, Junior? Does anybody just call you Junior?
I go by all of it. It's like whatever anyone wants to call me, I'm game. A lot of people that know me back in the day, it's more Freddie, and more recently, it's more Fred. But I go by whatever you want to call me, Dan. I'm down with.
Are you a Frederick?
Yes, I am.
I'm a Daniel.
Frederick Joseph Hodge Jr. It sounds like royalty, but it's not.
Yeah. You should get like some I don't know what royalty gets. They must get something. Like whatever they get, you should get it. What did your old man call you?
He calls me Freddie, and he was Fred.
Yeah. It's Fred.
Yeah.
That explains the Junior. The Junior.
Yeah.
My wife's name is Marty, and she's named after her dad, but she's not Marty Jr. That would just be kind of weird. And she's Marty with an I, and he's Marty with a Y. And in that spirit, I'm Dan. My oldest daughter is Danny. Danny with an I. Had to keep it rolling.
I like that.
But I never thought to put a junior after it. That would have just like I don't think I've ever met a female with a junior. Like is it like a sexist thing? Do you think it's a sexist thing?
I think it might be. Yeah. I might be wrong, but I don't think there's like juniors and the thirds and all that stuff with the females, but I could be wrong.
I'm going to spend the rest of my life. Well, Kedma just jumped on. Kedma would know. This is something I feel like Kedma would know. Kedma, are there any females with a junior after it? Or is it purely a male thing? And if so, why the hell? There's no rhyme or reason. But I think I'm going to spend the rest of my life looking for a female junior. And when I find one, I'll be like, Fred! Like, found one. And that
I didn't name my son Frederick though, so the name kind of stopped here. He got it as a middle name now. So
there you go. Yeah. It's sticking around. It's got some staying power.
Yeah.
Did you even consider it as a name for him?
Well, I named him after my uncle, and I made a promise at his eulogy that my firstborn son would be named William. So I was kind of all my chips were in on that one.
Yeah, the decision was already made. Yeah. Naming kids is a weird thing. Like it's a weird little bit of pressure. It's a weird little bit of pressure, and you don't want to screw it up because you're like when you're thinking about naming them, there's a few filters you need to think about all the time, which is, did I go to school at any point with a weirdo with that name, right? Because then that name is out. And then when you're like throwing names back and forth with your spouse, you find out about all the weirdos they went to school with. And you're like, this is a sweet name. And they're like, no, I knew one of those. And they were not okay. And you're like, really? I knew one of those and they were awesome. Or I didn't know any of those. And it's funny, like bouncing those off of each other. And then there's the filter of like, oh, if we name them that, what is some just asshole middle schooler gonna nickname them and just bury them with whatever that name is that we gave them, and it's gonna be our fault?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's probably a couple other filters.
Well, me and my wife's naming thing was like done in like 2 minutes, which is remarkable. I told you I promised I would name my firstborn son William.
Done.
So I told her that like a few months into knowing her, but like, hey, just in case things go somewhere, like if we end up having a baby, he's going to be named William. She's like, I'm down with that. And she's like, if we have a daughter, her name will be Gabriella. I'm like, I'm down with that. And we ended up having one each, and it was just a wash. That was it. That was the whole conversation.
Jaya, I saw you just jumped in, but now I have an audio thing. Hold on. You tried echo cancellation thing. Did it work this time? No, it didn't.
Yeah. Didn't.
I hear you. This is producer man Jai. Producer man Jai is in the background, and we were messing with this.
It's maybe because you have your Facebook on the background. No.
Hold on. You're right. Hold on. Okay. Closed it. No, it's not that. It's not that. It's weird. Yeah. This is super weird.
It's okay. I was gonna say, don't forget to go public.
Oh, I did.
Okay, good.
I'm out there.
Hi, Fred. I'm sorry.
Thanks for babysitting.
No problem.
I'm sorry
All right.
for jumping on.
No, I'm gonna mute you so I don't have to hear myself because I sound like an idiot. Why didn't you tell me that? I shouldn't have a show. I sound like a darn idiot over here.
Oh,
All right.
shoot, it's on my end.
Every once in a while, Fred, when you're used to being the one that screws stuff up, it's really awesome when somebody else does it, and you're like, nice. Like it's redeeming.
I was like, I feel confidence isn't me causing it. So I'm like, we're all good.
Yeah. You were. I saw both of your hands were free, and so there's no way it could have been you. You were like describing the kid names, and so it couldn't have been you.
I'm Italian. That's how it works around here. So.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah. David Mulcahy checking. He says his mother-in-law is not a junior, but has the same name as her mother. So interesting tidbit. He said he also has got family Richard and Norma. The kids are Richard and Norman. Wild. I don't know. Wild isn't the word I would have used, Dave. I would have probably said weird. That's just like that's wild is I think it's just weird. Weird choice. But it's like it's pretty bodacious. It's pretty like double down. Like I like these names so much. We're just gonna stick with them for one round, and we'll see where we go. But thanks for checking in, Dave.
Yeah, what's up, Dave?
I was busy hearing myself, and then I missed what you said about your second name. You had William, and then what was the second one that you guys had?
My wife was like, I always wanted to have a daughter named Gabriella. I'm like, I love that name, so it's done. I love William and Gabriella, and luckily we had one of each, and it worked out perfect.
Nailed it. Yeah, you guys spent like all of 2 minutes working on names.
That's probably the only thing that only took 2 minutes, but it literally was smooth.
Yeah. I think me having any one of my kids took maybe about 2 minutes for any of them, just that's having a kid. But so ours was funny. We like each one of our kids has the weirdest naming. Like Danny, obviously named after me, which like when we thought of that, it was kind of like it's kind of a cool little thing. And my mom just thought I was going to be a girl, and so I was supposed to be Danielle. That was like what she thought was going to be the case. Surprise, surprise, she got me. Sorry, Ma. But our second one, you ever see the Pitch Perfect movies? Have you seen Pitch Perfect? So we were watching, I think it was the second one, and I'm not good with my actors. I don't know if it's Key or Peele, but the bald-headed dude, the comedian dude who plays like the music producer guy in the second one, at one point he calls Becca's character Reggie. He's like, Reggie, go get me a cup of coffee. And Marty and I were watching it, and she's like, yeah, we should name our second girl Reggie, like just as a joke. And then we were like, actually, that's kind of like catchy. And my great grandma is Regina, and I don't know that anybody ever called her Reggie, but they could have. And so we named our second one Regina, but she's Reg or Reggie. And then I was actually at a business event. We got 3 of them. We got a 2-year-old boy, and we were kicking around a whole pile of names. We were at a business event. I don't think this guy's ever going to watch my episode. If he does, now he knows the story too. We were hanging out with a guy named Gary, and Gary didn't catch all of his social cues all the time. And we were at a bowling alley, and I ordered some pizza. There's 4 of us from my team there. I ordered us some pizza and a couple beers. And I don't know if Gary thought they were like on the house or as part of the event, but he just kind of like got up in there. And you know how pizzas have so many slices, and when there's 4 of you, the slice count is very, maybe this is just me because I'm a finance person, but when I'm like, hey, there's 8 slices of pizza and there's 4 of us, I'm like, very clearly everybody gets 2 slices. There's just no doubt about that. There's no arguing. It's perfect math. The world makes sense. Gary just squatted right down in on that pizza and ate 3 slices him damn self. And we were just like, it was just, everybody's just kind of like, what? Like the first slice he took, we all kind of like looked at each other and we were like, okay, like he had a slice. And then the second one he took, it was just like, did he just like miscount how many people were here and he thought he was one of the 4? And then when he took the third one, it was just like, I don't know. I just don't even know. Like, it was just, there's just no.
Gary was hungry and he didn't give a damn.
No, he was just like, whatever I'm doing is just what these people are dealing with, and they're gonna have to deal with it. And so the rest, and nice guy. Like, I think he was just totally oblivious. That's I think he just, the social awareness was very low in that moment. He was totally oblivious. But the rest of that event, like, I had my whole leadership team down there, and so any joke, it was just like, quit being a Gary, or like, it was just always like that became an adjective to describe a stupid behavior. And so my general manager at the time had texted Marty and was like, hey, when you and Dan are talking about names, like, just nonchalantly bring up Gary as like a potential name. And so Marty ran it by me, like, hey, I was thinking, you don't hear Gary very often anymore. And my text back was like, yeah, there's a good reason why too. Like, I was just snobby about it. And she sent me a screenshot. Of like the most popular male names. And Gary was like 996, right? Like way down there. And I think above Gary was the name Ocean. And I was like, okay, like, that's just a weird name, but I guess if people want to do that sort of thing. And the name below it was Crosby. And I was like, now that's a name I can get behind. We have this cadence of 2-syllable names that end in the E sound. We got Danny, Reggie, Crosby fits right in. You got, if you're a classic rock fan, you got some Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. And so out of a Gary joke came Crosby.
Wow.
And it just stuck.
I didn't know where it was going. Like, I don't picture you naming your child Gary. So I'm like, right? where's the turn going to come?
But it was a weird inspiration for a weird list of names that just happened to have Crosby on it. And I was like, I like that one, actually. Like, that could do. And now we got a Crosby. Just fits.
Very cool. Very cool.
I'm so bad at hosting podcasts because I just get excited to talk to people. I got a sponsor, Fred. We got a sponsor on here. Service Monster sponsors the show. I'm a frugal SOB, and it's probably just because I'm a finance guy. There's one thing that this is consistent in any application of my life. Sucker for value. I don't like to get the highest price thing in the world. I will if there's a lot of value behind it, but I don't want to pay it just because somebody priced it high just to make it seem more valuable. Like, it better freaking be valuable if I'm going to pay what I'm paying. And I find, and I see all the CRMs, like in my line of work, I end up working with all of them. And Service Monster it has something for everybody, but I'd say, like, hands down, in my perspective, it's the most valuable. I think there's a version they have that starts under $50 a month for those that are like just starting out, and it's them or them and a helper. They got a version that's like $100 and then, or maybe $150 or something. Then one that's like $250, and it scales as you grow. I think we are pushing 20 employees in our Minneapolis business, and I think we pay less than $300 a month for Service Monster, which is unheard of in the CRM space. And what I think is cool about it is it just grows so well with you. And I find, doing bookkeeping for a bunch of people, I run into people using a CRM and then they outgrow it. Like, it doesn't have the capabilities to grow with them. And I think that leads you to the worst thing in running a home service business, which is switching CRMs. It's the worst. I don't care which one you're on and which one you're going to, but I do know that switching them is the absolute worst. There's nothing good about it. I'd rather go back to high school and get broken up with by a girlfriend that I was madly in love with. Like, that sounds more comfortable to me than like pee in my pants or something. I don't know. What's the most uncomfortable thing? Pudding in your socks? If you had pudding in your socks, that's pretty damn uncomfortable, I bet. Never had it, but
that must be a Midwest thing. I've never heard the pudding in the socks.
It was a threat that we delivered in college a couple times to when people were like being like total bros. And you're like, yeah, I'm gonna put pudding in your socks. Because nobody knows what to do about it. There's like I think I'm insulted, but I don't. But it doesn't. Like, what kind of pudding? I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, you want some of me? I'm crazy, man. But yeah, switching CRMs is the worst. And like I said, I love about Service Monster, super valuable, and it grows with you. And it's still, even when you're a multi-million-dollar business, still works, still super affordable. Go check it out. Don't switch now, though, because it is the worst thing in the world. And right now, you should be stockpiling money because it's October 16th when we're recording this. Go make money. Go check out Service Monster. Switch when you slow down. don't change your tires on your car while you're driving down the highway. What's going on, Fred Hodge? I told you we were just gonna like BS for a while. Then
I love that. I love that.
We're doing baby names episode here.
The one thing I'm always jealous of you of all your exotic like hunting, fishing escapades. Like I'm like a city slicker compared to you. So like when I see you ice fishing, I'm like, that looks freaking awesome. Like I want to ice fish. Like you're talking about elk hunting or whatever and making crazy noises. Like that sounds awesome. That's like a whole new world to me. So one day maybe we hit it off there and you'll invite me out there one time, and I'd love to do one of these trips with you.
I've got I don't want to wet your whistle too much here, but every year I do an ice fishing event, and I'd be honored if you would join. And it's for people that haven't done it before, that just want to come see what it's all about. In a business owner only, we're just out drinking some beers, pulling some fish through the floor. And it's not ice fishing gets a funny rap because people like think grumpy old men, and they're like, oh, you're sitting on like a upside down 5-gallon bucket out with a 30-mile-an-hour wind and it's 10 below. Like you could, or you just go in your fish house where the heater's at 72 and you're wearing slippers and pajamas and you're watching a movie, eating a frozen pizza, drinking a Busch Light, and up comes a walleye through the floor every once in a while. Yeah, there's that version of ice fishing too.
That's what I want to sign up for.
And that's the one that we're doing. I do just so that you don't overserve yourself and that you get like 1,000 steps in a day. I put tip ups out around outside the house. So like it's a little mechanism that when a fish bites, a flag pops up and you got to run out and like hand line it in, hand reel it in. And so like you get a little exercise like running out. And usually like if you're ice fishing the way I ice fish, you've been a few beers in pretty much all day long. And you run out in like shorts and a t-shirt and you're just like, oh, we gotta go. And by the time you catch it, you're just like, I need to get my ass inside. Like it's freaking cold out here. But you're just so jacked up. You're like, I don't have time for a jacket. We're going. It's a hoot. It's a hoot. You got to do it once. Everybody that's never done it before, where it's going to get you is when you drive the pickup truck with the trailer out on the ice and you can see the ice crack underneath you. Yeah. Your butt cheeks tighten up real quick. With some tight cheeks. All part of the journey. It's all part of the fun.
I'm down with it. I got a few screws loose. I don't think that'll bother me too much. As long as you're the trained professional, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. As long you're just gonna be like, hey, as long as the windows are down a little bit and you're in the front of the truck, that goes down first. I'll be in the back seat. I'll get out. Lickety split. No problem. We'll see it come. We got a question. We got to hit the live questions here. And Fred, you've coached a bunch of businesses, so I think you'll probably have some perspective on this one. Elvin wants to know, at what point should I start thinking of hiring a bookkeeper? Here's my perspective, and I'm biased, but I also like see a lot of it, and I see when people try to hire me that don't really need me. And so I would say, and two, I've had people hire my service before they even started their business. We have a client right now that is making all the investments to get everything tooled. He hasn't sold an ounce of revenue yet. So part of it is where you want to go and how fast you want to go there, and like the pieces of the puzzle that you want to have ready to go. But to me, I think like the catalyst where most people say, oh shit, I really need to know my numbers, is when they hire their first employee. And it tends to be around 100,000 to 200,000 of revenue, which is, it's industry specific. But somewhere in that range, all of a sudden looking at your bank account isn't quite enough to know if you're making good decisions. Like your gut is pretty good and you can run a business up until that point and you see everything. And if a dollar gets earned or gets spent, it's you. So you know it. And you might not have a full-blown P&L and everything like that, but you have your hands on everything. You have a pulse on everything. You kind of know in the back of your mind what's going on. The minute you start hiring employees and that you have infrastructure decisions and you have more marketing decisions and you need to know what it costs you to recruit that person. And should you go do it again, or should you hire an admin person, or do you need a technician? And then how much is that rig going to cost, and what percent is fuel going to cost you? And what are you trying to get your cost of goods sold to? Because now you're not the labor, somebody else the labor. Like now the decisions start piling up really fast. And when you're running a small business, like it doesn't matter if you're pressure washing or window cleaning or landscaping or picking up dog poop, you're just in the business of making decisions. And every decision, whether it's a recruiting one, an employee engagement one, a marketing one, a pay structure one. It's just math. It's just a math decision. And so once the decisions start piling up, bookkeeping, that's what it's for. What do you think, Fred?
Yeah, that's spot on. Especially knowing like if it's your strength or not, like you said, some people are actually good at it and that's a strength, but you need to know your numbers once you start having employees and you got to make these decisions. And your gut's going to get you there, like you said, like 90% of the way. But that last 10%, you have to dial it in and know, okay, this is what we're looking at, and this is how it's going to affect the bottom line. And does it make sense? And having your books in order is super important to do that. So, yeah, I agree with the threshold and everything else you said.
At the same time, I've seen people grow to $1 million+ without any bookkeeping. And every time I see it, I'm just like, huh? And
that's hard to do too. I feel like to break through the million mark, I feel like you have to have like, you need to know your numbers, you need to know how to hire people, and you need to know how to lead generation. Like if you have those three, then I feel like you're in a good spot. But like if you're missing one of those three, I feel like it's going to keep putting a stiff arm up to you. Like, nah, you're not getting breaking through that $1 million mark.
I can think of like for sure 2 that I've worked with where like that was when I met them and there's, but like that's not something I would strive for. I wouldn't shoot to be the dude that grew to $1 million without any books, because the people that have come to me in that circumstance are like, this is miserable. I have no idea what's going on. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Every day is on fire. I'm losing. I'm making a lot of money. I have no idea where it goes. And then we dig in. It's like, yeah, they're losing money. Like they make a lot of revenue, but they're not making any profit, right? Because they can't tell where all the money's going. So I don't recommend it. I've been like, damn, that's impressive. You made it this far. I don't know what you're doing. So it's like kudos, but yeah, we got to get you straightened up. Seth Goldberg's checking in. He came ice fishing last year. He said, he will do donuts if you ask. Just flip
What's
off.
Up, Seth? I know Seth. He's the East Coast guy. He's in Philly. He's outside of Philly near me. So me and him, we know each other well.
He, I'm easily peer pressured to do some donuts. When like if there's snow on the ice, you can't really do it. But last year it was just bare ice, and you get a couple beers in you, and and you're just out in the middle of nowhere. So you flip that traction control off, and you just gun it a little bit and see what happens.
There was a post recently. Someone was calling donuts cookies or something. It was like a term out west. I'm like cookies.
Yeah. Was it? I think it was Angela Schroeder that had said cookies, or somebody else that was in like Nebraska.
I just remember recently seeing something about that.
A couple people, I think in Nebraska, said that. And they were like, and Zeke, who's out in South Dakota, said that. And he's like, oh, it's a Midwest thing. And I was like, maybe it's like a Western Midwest thing, but like I grew up in Wisconsin. I live in the Twin Cities now. Like I'm just Northern Midwest. Like I've been everywhere else in the Midwest, and ain't nobody called it a cookie. But it sounds cute. But in the defense of whoever calls a donut a cookie, which I just want to be really clear, that's wrong. It's not. They're not right. That's just they're just weird. In Minnesota, they play duck, duck, gray duck. How stupid is that? Like, here's my thing.
You got a problem with geese, like or
right?
Duck, goose?
It's clearly duck, duck, goose. It's duck, duck, goose everywhere, and somehow these Norwegian weirdos that ended up in Minnesota a long time ago, there must be like a translation somewhere back in the language of like goose is a gray duck. And I just had to point out to everybody here, it's kind of like I'm a total Packer fan, as I'm from Wisconsin, so I feel like I'm kind of over here converting people on like some religious mission, converting people to be Packer fans. I got my wife converted her to be a Packer fan, so it's working. Yeah. Slow progress, but it's coming. But I always like to point out to the crazy Minnesotans that think it's duck, duck, gray duck, that if they've ever gone and looked at a duck, they're all gray. They're all gray. You're not saying anything different. You might as well call it duck, duck, duck. And then everybody be really freaking confused running around that circle. Could you imagine playing duck, duck, duck? Just one person forever. Duck, 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 duck. It's like, what? Was that a different duck or is that the same duck? I don't know. It's weird. Weirdos. Yeah, cookies.
Well, when you take me ice fishing, we'll do donuts, cookies. We'll play
Yeah.
duck, duck, gray goose. I'm down with any of it.
I think Angela will be there, so we're totally gonna give her a hard time and be like, "Oh, we're doing some cookies. Somebody give me some milk. I need a glass of milk to go with these stupid cookies." It'll be fun. But Fred, I wanna get into your background, your coaching. You've got so much exposure. You've seen so many other business owners. You've seen what works. You've seen what doesn't work, and everybody that's watching, like, hit us with your questions. Lay it on thick. But Fred, take us back. Give us a little trip down memory lane. Take us back to as far as you want to go, and get us into like how you got into the home service space and where you guys have taken Clearview over your trajectory here.
Yeah, totally. So I can't believe I've been doing Clearview half of my life now. So 20 years. This is our 20th year.
Oh,
I turned
geez.
40. Yeah, I turned 40 this year. So like legitimately half of my life has been to Clearview.
Isn't that kind of messed up when you look back like that and you're like, oh
it
man,
kind of is. It's like, wow, like that's crazy. But
yeah, dude.
it all started 20 years ago. So back in 2004, I was studying entrepreneurship at a university called Rowan University. I'm in Jersey for anyone that's listening. And
Why don't you have a more outrageous Jersey accent? You're missing like a really obnoxious Jersey accent. You kind of just have a very like chill Jersey, but not much of one. What happened?
I don't know. I guess I toned it down over the years, but it depends on the words too. Certain words you're going to hear it more too. Like if we're talking certain coffee or water or like that type of stuff, like it's definitely
there's a little more awe. There's a little awe to it.
Yeah.
Deeper awe. Okay.
But someone was supposed to show up to my parents' house, $350. They didn't show. They didn't call. They didn't anything. I'm studying entrepreneurship, and my dad's like, I think we should start a window cleaning company. And I was like, okay. And he actually woke me up on a Saturday morning. So like he had mentioned a little bit of stuff one day, and I was like, yeah. And I was
just kind of blew him off, like, sure, Dad, sure. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I got Saturday morning, he's like in my room waking me up. I'm like, what are you getting? I'm like, get out of here. And he's like, we're going to clean some windows. I remember looking up, like, what do you mean we're going to clean some windows? He's like, I put an ad in the newspaper. That's how you know I'm old. We're old. It's like ads in the newspaper. Like you're like, what? So he's like, I put an ad in the newspaper. I landed a job. I found the guy in Pennsylvania. We're gonna pay him for the day. He's gonna get all the money for the jobs, and he's just gonna teach us everything. And I was like, okay. And to this day, he's still like, I give you credit for actually getting out of bed and coming with me, because he's like, I don't think a lot of 20-year-olds would have. And he's like, you hopped out. We went. The first few jobs were miserable. I was on a wooden ladder. There's bees around my head. It's like a total shit show. Like total shit show.
Wooden ladder. Was it like an A-frame, or was it some like old wooden extension like made out of bamboo, just super bendy?
It was like found like probably someone's backyard. Like it wasn't a new wooden ladder either. So like
no, it definitely had some paint on it. All wooden ladders have some paint splatter on them. I think they actually sell them that way.
Yeah. I think it came out of the store that way. Yeah. And it was definitely a learning curve with all that, but I started applying everything I was doing, studying entrepreneurship, to real life. I did my business plan. It was a 60-page business plan. I got to dig that sucker out because I want to look at, I've been talking about it recently, and I'm like, I got to find that business plan because I want to look through like all 60 pages and see what I had mapped out then and see like which ones are true, like where did it go different, like all that cool stuff. But
that's pretty epic. That's pretty epic.
Yeah,
super interesting to peel back.
Yeah, and my dad was working in Manhattan. He was working in the towers for a while. Luckily, he wasn't there on that day, but he was. I would call him up while he's in the office, and he'd go into like a huddle room, and I'm like, Dad, what do I do in this situation? And like there were crazy stories. Like I remember one guy was falling asleep on the ladder cleaning the exterior of the windows. I remember calling my dad. I'm like, yeah, so. I forget what the employee's name was at the time. And I'm like, he's falling asleep. He's like, all right, so let him sleep. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, he's on the ladder on the second floor in the middle of cleaning the window. And he's falling asleep.
He's not sleeping on the job. Like he's about to fall asleep up the job. It's not going to go well for anybody.
And this is a 95 Ford Taurus with a ladder rack. So like it didn't come with the ladder rack. This is like one of those self-installed ladder racks that you bought like the kit and put it on. So like you'd be driving and all of a sudden the ladder would be shifting and going sideways as you're driving and stuff. So like listen, everyone's got their humble beginnings, and that was certainly us for sure.
I don't want to rub it in, Fred. I don't want to make you feel bad, but when I was growing up, I had a 96 Mercury Sable. And I think it even was limited. Like it had a which I think for that vehicle meant there were quite a few limitations as to what it was capable of. It went 0 to 60 in like 15 seconds if you got it there. Like it was and I think it got 14 miles to the gallon. My F-150 now would blow it out of the water gas mileage wise. That baby, she purred, man.
Yeah, man. That's all that matters. Getting you to that job to try to make that money. And then after, I don't know, a year or two, then we got a truck. And then I was recruiting all my friends and stuff at the time. I'm like, who wants to work? Who wants to help me put out some yard signs and clip flyers and door hangers and just boots on the ground, like marketing type stuff. Yeah, hell yeah. Rob's right. The hand cranks, baby.
For sure. Again, my 96 Sable had power windows, and 3 of them worked. So one definitely got stuck down and got taped over for an extended period of time. You can imagine what it looked like. T wants to know. You got to publish that business plan when you find it.
I know. I'm gonna find it. I'm definitely gonna find it.
Gotta know.
So
you're bringing all your buddies in. That works well every time. There's nothing that goes wrong ever when you bring all your buddies together.
Nothing at all. No, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Just a big party out there. Just a frat party with the kegger at every job.
But we eventually started adding on some other services, some power washing, some gutter cleaning. People started asking for different stuff, and we started offering that. And I started growing it more. And then it got to the point that I was like, my dad he just hated the city. So he requested to get laid off from his job in the city. His boss was like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's like, I want to go run this company with my son too. So he left there, came on board. My mom eventually left her job. She came on board. My brother joined on. It's like full on family affair. And this is before I even met Christine and got married to her. And she became part of the whole thing. So there was a lot of different family aspect to the whole thing, which is pretty cool because there's not many people that get to like work across from their mom on a regular basis and like kind of shoot the breeze and catch up and whatnot.
No, I gotta imagine there's some cool stuff and some maybe not so cool stuff with having a all-encompassing family business.
Oh yeah. You definitely do. That's why I've learned over the years different tips and tricks and stuff that I think works best too. Like I don't think we should all be in the same office all the time either. Like it's like my wife's at the home office, my mom comes in twice a week, my dad's out on the road. My brother has his own business now, so he's not part of Clearview. He ventured out, bought a pool cleaning and repair company, so he's doing his own jam now. But it's good to kind of be in all different places, having different roles, working towards the same thing, but like not overlapping too much either.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot about that dynamic over the years. But yeah, you get the good with the bad for sure. Definitely, me and Pops definitely butt heads the most when it comes to that. But
dude, I can't imagine. My dad was very intentional. He ran a business when we were growing up, and he was very intentional about not ever hiring us, which when I was younger, I was a little bit like, I never like brought it to him, but I was just kind of wondered why. And then as we got older and I like hunt and fish with him a lot, man, when our ideas are different or just sometimes like we just don't read each other's minds, go figure. And the miscommunications we have and the frustrations we have from miscommunications are just outrageous. Rob, co-host, seldom off here once in a while, co-host Rob Anderson in the house.
What's up, Rob?
He's busy clicking buttons and not hearing.
What's up, guys? Just trying
there
to
get
I gotta click all the buttons. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. What's going on?
Yeah.
Co-host with the most back in the house.
Not
Rob's been
much.
on hiatus. Rob's been on hiatus from his from co-hosting, but it's not officially, but every once in a while.
Yeah. I took an unofficial sabbatical from my unofficial role as the assistant to the regional manager.
That's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it.
I was going to reference Michael Scott before, so I'm glad you got that in there.
Yeah.
So Fred, at what point, as you guys started growing it, at what point did you realize it was like a career? right? Like I feel like small business kind of starts as like, oh, this is a thing we're going to dabble with. And at some point it becomes oh man, we got something here. And this isn't just a little business anymore. This is a career, and it's a career for a lot of employees too. Was there like an inflection point, like a realization point where you guys said, holy shit, like we've got something?
I feel like I had to convince the other family members of that, but like I feel like myself, like I feel like I felt it the whole time for the most part. Maybe it took until we got to like 3, 4, 500 grand in revenue to like really feel it. But like in my gut, like I just felt like we were building momentum and doing it, and it could be something that was like legitimate. And I kind of had all my chips in, and I was like, let's do this. But I think when I met Christine, I remember her coming to my like bachelor pad apartment that I had at the time. And I had like insane amount of those yellow and pink, like carbon copy, like for invoices and estimates, like everywhere in my apartment. And she was like,
the original CRM, the original carbon copies.
Yeah. And she was like, what is these piles of papers? And she was like, she was a paralegal for a law firm. And she was like, I can't believe that you have all this stuff. And that's when I was like, all right, listen, these are the top 5 CRMs that are out there for our industry. Go shop around. You tell me what we should do.
What year was this, and what CRMs were out there?
So this is 2015. And so going back 9 years ago.
Jobber, Service Autopilot. Jobber was around. Service Autopilot was around.
Yeah.
What else was in that? Was Customer Factor? Customer Factor might have been.
Yeah, Customer Factor was there. I think House Call Pro was there. Yeah, most of them, they were just kind of starting out on the newer side of things. But yeah, she was just like, we're going with Jobber. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And from then on, that's where we've been.
Man, I've run into, I bet over 1,000 businesses that I've worked with in all different sorts of capacities. I've only run into one business that got any CRM and then went back to not having a CRM. Like I have people say, hey, back to the bookkeeping question. They'll be like, hey, when should I start bookkeeping? And I'm like, well, what CRM do you use? And they're like, I don't have one yet. And I'm like, then why are we even talking? Like, you got problems to solve before I start getting you good data. You need to like run your business better. You need to solve that. You need to go clean. You need to know where you're going and be able to like delegate work before you even worry about bookkeeping. Like, get this thing first for sure.
Well, I think it was like 2007 or 8. I went out to like the IWCA convention, and I was walking the floor, and I got sold like the CRM, but it came on like a CD at that time where you had to like download it onto your computer.
It was right next to the AOL Instant.
And I remember dropping like $2,500, and like I remember like never getting it implemented and always feeling like crap for like spending that money and never get. Like I tried to get it set up, like it was brutal trying to do it, and that's why I think I went on a hiatus for like 7 years until she came into my life. It was like, all right, you want this? You pick out the right one so we can actually implement this and do this. Because when I tried this back in 2008, it crashed and burned, and I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I don't. That's the only other time, and that was so early on. The dude that I talked to that like CRM'd and then went back to carbon copies, he was like, oh, because I asked him, I was like, you're the first person that's ever like, I get not liking the CRM you chose and being like, I got to pivot. Hashtag Rob Anderson tried 78 CRMs. I think the guy's like seen them all. You need to know if you need to know exactly what is going on with this one.
Pop all the logos here. Yep.
Yeah. People, it's like it'll be like the movie Idiocracy when the one family's having a bunch of babies, but it'll be Rob trying every CRM, just boop, 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 like big family tree. But
this month
like, oh, no.
we will be sampling and paying for 6 months for.
Yeah, definitely. I was like stuck on the subscription. The dude was like, oh no, like I'm not gonna have a CRM. Like this was, I just didn't like this one, and I was just testing it, and so I'm thinking maybe this one. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I can't imagine running one of these businesses without the automations and without the scheduling and the dispatching and the invoicing. It just would be so miserable. It does so many things, and for the cost, it's like by far the best investment in the business you can make. It's
Mhm.
There's no way stuff is not slipping through the cracks. Like, there's no way like how much money people really owe you, and like all of a sudden you misplace one of those invoices or something. Like all of a sudden, like that money is gone. Like you're not going to find it anymore.
It's crazy. You had mentioned, Fred, like somewhere in that 400 to 500,000 was when you're like, we got something here.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember that when I was starting at Blue Skies and I was working with Mike Dalkey on it, and we got the first location up to I think it was just over 400. And when you said that, it like triggered that memory for me, because that was the point where it was just like, we figured out how to sell shit. We have 4 employees. We've got 3 rigs. We can do just more of this and then more of this. And now like we have a system. And then we did the stupidest thing ever, which was we're like, let's go buy another one of these somewhere else and do it again. Which like we were like, in hindsight, it was so stupid. We were just at the cusp of like figuring this one location out and being able to actually grow it. And instead of growing that, we were like, let's go through the most painful, most costly part of the business again in a different location that we're not at. Like, and Chad's in here laughing. Chad and I were just talking about this yesterday. The growing pains are real. Like running a business, and I'm doing it right now in my new bookkeeping business. In the first year, and like no joking aside, we're scaling like crazy. It's great. I have made $0 in the first year, like by design, but I also like I am doing it intentionally. And it's different when you do it by intent versus when it happens to you. But I remember when it happened to us, and we didn't know that was what happens when you start scaling and putting the investments in place to grow the business. And so we like finally got through that, and we were like, we figured it out. We're here. We know how to make money. Let's go do the most painful part of business again and again and again, and like go from 0 to 400. And that's like 0 to 400, man. You just couldn't pay me enough to do that. I say often, I don't regret it, but I'll never do it again. Like I learned a ton.
Yeah.
I say that now. I just did it in this business, so I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But man, that getting to like the 3rd truck, that's painful. That's painful.
And officially getting off the truck too. You see that a lot through the coaching. It's like just getting that person off the truck. Like we got to get you stopped cleaning, and like it doesn't have to be black and white, but like you got to like at least find a way to like, okay, initially a couple days a week, then maybe 3, and then eventually completely off. But that's a hard one.
Mike Mahara says, waiting for the invite to the bar. You tell me a Wednesday, boy. We got to do it.
Yeah.
You and your
for us, it was we had 3 guys working full time for me while I was still working full time at Verizon. And it was like, yeah, I think this can sustain us now. You know, I'd had that line in the sand at like 120, 140 or whatever. Like, okay, then that'll be able to support me. And I realized like I got 3 full-time people. You know, we hit 200, and it was like, okay, we're not going to be able to grow this more without me being like all in. So
yeah, it's tough when you're growing it absentee in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it throws in another wrinkle for sure.
Yeah.
That was the same. That actually 200 was the same level when it was a location we weren't at. That was the really sticky spot. Like it wasn't 400, it was 200. Because when you're not there, the growth engine, which in a small business, like the only growth engine is in the mirror. That's just that's the thing that grows your business is you. And when you're not there, when you're remote, you just always get stuck at 200,000. And I see that a lot for like second locations. They just get stuck. And they're like, man, this one won't grow. And I'm like, yeah, because you're not there. Like the hustle. I don't know how to define it, but I know when I see it, which is you're the thing that grows the business, and you're over here and that business is over there.
We had one of the BBB meetings. They had a guy, and he's like, he's got 2 partners with him and whatnot, and he's like, I want to open up a Dallas branch. And they're like, no, we don't want to open that up. He's like, we're going to open up a Dallas branch. And they're like, no, we shouldn't do that. He's like, so I rented this Airbnb for the next like 3 months in Dallas. And he comes back, he's like, so I've sold $1 million in work there. So now I need you guys to figure out a way to get trucks and stuff to go do it. So the moral of the story is we just have to move to other towns and then just make it happen. You know, you can do that when you're single.
Yeah, it's a good single man's game. Brian said, and then you get really stupid and you start a new business on top of the other one. It's like when there's a bad relationship and they're like, let's have a kid or let's get a dog. Like, let's just put some gas on this fire. This business isn't working. I got a good idea. Let's go get another one. And
let's increase collateral damage.
Yeah.
Fred, what as you guys scaled, obviously we're kind of hitting on some of the inflection points here. What are some memorable like crossroads that you guys hit, or just like major headwinds where it was like, oh shit, like this part of the business sucks? Because I think I watch a lot of people. $1 million is the one that comes to mind, right? A lot of people get to $1 million and they're just like, oh, I just want to be $1 million business, and they get there and they're like, oh, like this is gross.
Yeah.
The set of problems that I have here is not. I thought it was like rainbows and cupcakes and unicorns, and it's just a nightmare of people problems. What are some of those inflection points that stick out as you guys scaled? And what's the next one? What's the next one that you see coming? Because now you know to look out for it at least.
Yeah.
But what are some of the pain points you remember?
So the $1 million one was like tough on us because I remember like the 1 year, I don't remember exactly which year it was, but we hit like 900 grand, let's say. And I'm like, all right, we're real close. Like we're 100 grand away. Then the next year, I think we did like 980, and I had like at least like another 50 grand in like closed sales. But Mother Nature decided to say like, come like December 1st, like you're not cleaning another damn thing in New Jersey the rest of this year. And like we couldn't get it done. And I was like, that winter, it just lit a fire under me. I was like, all right, I'm figuring this out so it doesn't come down to the wire at the end of the season. And I think that next year we hit like 1.5. And I was like, all right, now, baby. Like, because it was like, I realized, like I said earlier, like I needed to make sure we knew our numbers 100%. I needed to make sure the lead generation, and I needed to hire great people. And like, I think the hiring process was like back in the day, I'm sure it's relatable to a lot of people. It was like, hey, you could breathe, come work for Clearview. Like, it was like, come on board, man. As long as you can actually show up and breathe, yeah, I'll take you. And then we changed it up a little bit and got a real hiring process and really vetted people and started like bringing like real team players. And it was like, oh, like if you have these guys, there's building blocks here. Like you can actually build off of this. So that was a big one for us. And obviously the responsibility of the lead generation, because now you got this team and like I feel like that responsibility, like they got families, they got stuff, like it's up to me to find this work now to keep them busy and keep them cranking. And like, I took that as a personal, like fire under me to be like, all right, I gotta like, from a lead generation standpoint, I need to get that cranking. And then start building out the sales team. That was like a cool aspect of everything. Cause then it was like, okay, I could be lead generation and marketing, but now the sales aren't relying on me. Now I can have a team where we have meetings, we go over the different agendas, what with the different targets, and every aspect of it. And to me, that was great. And ultimately for us, like I wanted to make the Inc. 5000. We checked that one off our list last year, and we're methodically going up the ranks. But I won't be satisfied until we hit $5 million. That's ultimately like that's my goal. But it's not just that, because like the gross is the gross. Like again, like you said, like if you hit the $1 million mark, but you got zero net or very like 5% net, it's like that is painful. It's like I thought there was sunshine and rainbows and all that stuff once I hit it, and it's like it's not. So it's like, okay, like if I'm going to bust my butt and the customers are going to get their stuff, the employees are going to get their stuff, the vendors are going to get their stuff, I got to make sure we're getting ours too. So like the net portion of the things was like, that's been my mentality for like 3 or 4 years now. Protect the net. Every decision is like, does this make sense for the net profit of the company? Like, is that a luxury? Do we need that? Should we do this later on? Like, what's the strategy behind it by reviewing our P&L and having those meetings? And to me, it's like I want to get to that $5 million mark, and then that'll be a good transition out of the industry, most likely for me at that point, and into something else that we love. But I want to get that multiple everyone's always talking about. So obviously, I'm shooting for the stars, but I want to see a high multiple when we go to sell, so that obviously it can be something that sets up the family and future opportunities, and see where it goes.
Yeah, you got to start thinking about the next investment. Yeah. Like you might get a payday, but it's not like you just get to sit on your hands. You got to go find the thing you want to go do with that.
Yeah.
and then do the thing that I just talked about, where you're like, why did I start this thing over again?
Yeah.
But at least you know what you get into. It's
I
different.
love food. So like I want to do something with food. Doesn't mean I'm not opening any restaurant or going crazy like that. But like something with like delicious food. I maybe even freaking blogging about it. Maybe a food truck, maybe a catering, maybe something. I don't know. But like something with awesome food is definitely in my horizon. And we'll see when the time comes, I guess, with that.
You know, there's probably a role for like a menu consultant. You don't need to be the guy owning the restaurant, but you got to be the guy developing the recipes and consulting the restaurants on what needs to be on their, seasonal menu. You can be that guy. I don't know if that exists.
If you gentlemen from the Jersey, I'll show you some of the best food you've ever had, especially in the Italian department for sure. So
You've got a little Italian swag to you. I sense that. You got that vibe going on. It's crazy to me how like as you scale, and we see it over and over again, but the problems don't go away, right? They're just different. And one of the things I work with a lot of our clients on, and just a lot of the business owners I work with, is don't like get out of your mind that there's going to be like a thing that you hit all of a sudden where it's just like, no problems. Like you're a business owner, your job is to solve problems. Now, you got to solve them in a way that solves them and doesn't require you every time, right? Build a system, build a process so that they're not a problem anymore. But the minute you do that, all that happens is you create another problem. And that's cool. Like if you solve your recruiting problem, awesome. Now you have a marketing problem. Because now you have great employees that are sitting on their hands and you got to go get more leads. And then you figure that out. But now you have an admin problem because now you can't answer all the phone calls, right? And that's okay, but understand like there's never a period in your business where you're like without problems. Yeah. Embrace it. Enjoy the journey. Like the problems they're painful, but I think as you scale your business, you get better at handling them because I see this with a lot of business owners too. It tends to be the people that have been through the worst shit. They're just like relentless. Like people with tough backgrounds and stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. Like there's some things where like people have been through awful situations. I don't envy it at all, except I'm a little bit like, I don't know another way you could get that badass. Like where you're that tough and rugged and have that much grit because you've been through so much worse and come through it, that small problems, which feel big to the rest of us, to somebody that's been through some shit, they're just like, there's nothing. Kedma's got a little bit of that. Like when I've talked to Kedma and like some of the stuff she's been through, like when she's working on a problem, she's like, oh yeah, you just don't even care. Like you've been through so much more than this. Like to me, this is so big, and you're just like, whatever. It's just a problem. It's just shit we solve. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And once you've done enough of that and solved enough of those problems, I think you also realize as an entrepreneur, like that's your mojo, that's your juice. Like solving problems almost becomes an addiction that we have to like protect ourselves against, because sometimes we love solving problems so much that we keep them or create them out of thin air just so we can get the pride of solving them to our own detriment. It's kind of outrageous, but like just got to enjoy that journey. It's cool. It's part of the fun.
It is part of the fun because every day is different too. Like we're not all sitting at the same thing, doing the same thing every single day. It's like one day you're over here doing, like I was the other day, we bought a couple sales and operations car, and then the next day I'm over here doing this, and then I'm running these meetings. Like every day is different, and yeah, you're putting out fires and dealing with problems, but like you said, after you have experience and you've been through enough, it's like it doesn't phase you quite the way it did back when you first started.
Yeah. Chad hits an interesting thing, and this is similar to something that you just talked about, Fred. He's in a different purgatory. I call them purgatories, but said did just over 400,000 last year, built the second rig out, was like, hey, I'm going to double this. I'm going to, grow this and more profit. Right. And then things shrunk down, and granted, we're in a weird economy. I talked to Chad yesterday. He's got some other headwinds with marketing stuff that are, not out of his control, but that he has to react to, things he couldn't do proactive. So he's like in this purgatory, and he's kind of like stuck going backwards. And kind of like you said, Fred, as you got to 1 million, it's like, oh man, like we're doing more and making less. In our Minneapolis business, we've added a couple services, but it distracted us. We've been like sitting at 1 million for I think 3 years now, and our profits actually been going down. we've tweaked some things, we've solved some things. This year is actually probably going to be our worst profit because we invested really heavily in a couple things to try to get through this $1 million hump. It always tends to be, sometimes it's us, but every time I see somebody stuck at a purgatory, it's always a people thing. Like for our $1 million business, we don't have the leadership outside of Andy at Kahuna Window Cleaning. Like it's him, but we don't have, I think we have the guy. We haven't elevated him yet. We're like doing this now. We have really good managers, but we don't have the other person, to what we were talking about earlier, that can grow the business. And that's a weird thing. Like growing a business, good entrepreneurs can hustle and grow a business up to $1 million, but you need another leader to like help you grow it past that. Yeah. And you see so many people stall out at like around $1 million because they can't find another leader to help them grow the business, and they totally get stuck there. Yeah, Rob Anderson, Exhibit A, Rob.
It's like he's reading all the notes of me, guys. Just want to throw that out there.
But it's so true, and it's so funny, and it happens to everybody, and it's just like, how long do you get stuck there? Like I said, our Kahuna business has been there for a few years, and I think we've got the dude. We actually like had the gal a couple of years ago, but we had a death in our business. Andy and I talked about doing an episode about it, but it's like a little too much. So we haven't talked about it a whole lot publicly, but we had like an employee death on the job. And then that caused that person to leave. And that was like a huge blow, right? That was like just the ultimate headwind. It like, we didn't go backwards, but it was really hard to go forwards after that. And for everybody, just for the whole team. Right. But it's sticky. And so Chad's at this like 400,000 spot. And like I said earlier, the second rig is the worst. Like you have all this investment to double your business, and everybody likes to take the shortcut of like, I did this much revenue. If I double, I'm going to double my revenue and double my profit. And what actually happens is you don't double your revenue because you're really inefficient, because you don't have systems and processes, and you don't have the marketing to fill it up. But you still need all the stuff that goes with it. So your profitability goes down sometimes to zero. Like I've definitely seen some businesses that were doing well go negative when they tried to do that part of scaling.
Yeah.
And it's you got to decide, do you go to the third one to try to get profitable, or do you go back to like you and Helper? And I was talking to Chad about it yesterday. There's no right answer. There's no, and like the right answer now might be different 2 years later. It's so circumstantial based on your family and what's going on in the economy and whatever else you got going on. And there's a lot of pressure on social media. Like, you got to scale. And I'm like, yeah, if you want to, like, if that's your goal, cool. But man, I don't think it's right for everybody, not at every moment in time.
I see so many guys that Chad will show those similar, not necessarily 401 truck is fantastic. But I'll see guys that's like,
he said he went bald that year. he was just working nonstop. I was like, you must have been, man.
But I feel like in that situation, it's not, I think it's easier to get, two great people to run that truck than it is to then when we try to get 4 or 6 people or 8 people to all be good at that level. Like, and it's still a numbers game. I mean, we literally over the last 2 weeks have gone plus or minus at least 1 to 2 people every day. It's been just ridiculous. 6 texts to 4 texts to 7 texts to 8 texts to, we got one who's missed like a week plus now being sick. And another guy, it's like, all right, your first week was kind of good, but you also were late 3 times. You called out on Monday, and then today text perfectly on time at 7:30 to say, hey, my other job needs me. Well, you got like a 45-minute drive, bro. Did you like, do you think this counts as like, you didn't like as a, yeah, it's fine, man. Thank you for letting us know before we officially started our day. Because you've also said it that like we should expect you at 7:35. But it's so maddening because I think Chad's out with too, though, that if we could get the right people, or at least a couple more right people, we can do some amazing stuff. And I keep telling us from a marketing standpoint, like, we're not, like, the marketing engine is there. We're not giving it any gas. You're
like, you can't hardly turn it on.
Yeah, dude, it's like it's a purgatory for real.
It's
It's a purgatory for real. And there's just, everybody looks at those levels when you're growing and they're like, oh yeah, get that second truck. Oh, do this. It'll be so much better when we get past $500,000. It's so great. And they're like, no, now I'm dealing with 3 trucks, which means I really need 4 to have 3 working. And I need to have this, but now I have to have 7, Fat Boy Bandit pumps so that I can have 3 working and have a graveyard of all this shit everywhere. And you're like, what? Why? Like, I loved it when I had a booster pump and a generator, and that's what I would put on my truck. But if I have a booster pump on the truck and my guys are using it, guess what? Now I have $1,000 machine that's going to break about every month.
Yeah.
Like what I would use on my truck and could go crush some stuff right now is not what we can have when we scale. And I hate 12 volts. I hate them. But it's like, all right, well, that's the easiest thing for us to swap out with technicians. So here we are.
Chad says he gets those texts at 3:30 a.m. when the assholes are crawling in from the bar. I don't think I'm gonna make it. Getting in a little late.
I'll take that text. I'll take that text all day long.
7:30 a.m. text.
Yeah, over the 7:30 or like just
came up. Oh, funny because you should already be here. You could have told me that in person if you were actually on time.
Yeah. Well, you get that, like, people don't talk about it, but like that sinking feeling. Like, I'm sitting there at the front desk and I'm like, okay, I think I've seen 4 people show up today. Did somebody not come in to clock in? And it's like, oh, good. You were just 3 minutes late. You're 9 minutes late, but you're here. Like,
thank God you're only 9 minutes late.
Thanks for giving me a heart attack because I had to figure out what we're gonna do.
Yeah, that's the worst. Brian had another good point. He said, especially at that $1 million level too, it's like when you do start turning a profit, usually the first time it catches you by surprise, and then subsequently the taxes catch you by surprise too, and you're like, oh shit.
But it's a taxes and all the overall bills. I mean, Freddie, your insurance and workers' comp, I'm sure, is way worse in Jersey than ours. But like ours got up to it, and it's like how much it's incredibly it's eye opening when you see how expensive it is to go make money. Yeah. Hey, we got to pay $30,000 in insurance premiums for vehicles and trailers, and it's like, cool, we got this awesome fleet. We got 3 sales cars. We got like 6-7 trucks, 7 trailers. Like we have, we have more vehicles and equipment than we have people. It's like, hey, we can get the right people in here. We can do some serious stuff, but like those payments are due every month.
And the insurance, like I thought it was bad with the workers' comp and all that stuff. And then I started going up to the really big commercial, and they started requiring this $5 million umbrella policies. And I'm like, nuts. The quotes were insane. I'm like, what? Tell me like it's another 80 grand in insurance I need. Like, this is on top of the auto and the workers' comp and the general liability. And it's like, yeah, well, if you want to go after those contracts, you need that. And it's like,
you must pay us a lot more money to play.
Yeah. But it weeds people out too. So it's like you're not worried about the $99 guy anymore either, but that which people are always afraid of. But one of the things I would recommend to some of the people listening, especially at the 400,000 mark and going up, is like we've rotated for like 10 years now. Investment year, non-investment year. Investment year, non-investment year. And yeah, maybe it's a little slower, but you know what? That non-investment year actually bringing way more money is a lot better on the brain and the relationship and the family and mental health and everything like that. And that's helped us a ton. And obviously the hiring, like everything you've said, I've been there and I felt that way. Worrying if people are going to show up. When am I going to get these texts? And I can truly say that, like, I think we have a total, like everyone with sales and everything. I think there's 28 people in the company now. Like, I don't know who my weak link is anymore. And that's like, and our turnover rate is like, I lose 1 or 2 people a winter. So like, that's the stuff I pride myself on now is like, okay, I got that part down, and like I've built the culture. I got that respect for them. They're coming back. They're doing their thing. They're showing up every day they're supposed to. And for the most part, like we're really not dealing with those last minute call outs and like the guy quitting the day of and all that stuff anymore. But trust me, it's not like I haven't lived all that. It's not like somehow I miraculously skipped over that whole chapter of everything. So there's hope for you, Rob, to overcome that and fill those 7 trucks with the people that are going to show up every time.
It's if I could go back in time and recruit the way I do now, I don't know if I'd be doing what I do now, because I would have stayed running all the businesses we had, because it wouldn't have sucked as bad as it did, because I would have had phenomenal employees. But I didn't, and I have a hard time like convincing all the people I coach and work with to invest more in recruiting. Like, everybody's gun shy to do it. And the simplest way I can put it is, we all know what it's like when an employee doesn't show up and you're left being the full-time backup for everybody, and you're wondering if they're going to show up, and you're glad when they show up 9 minutes late. Like, we've all been there. We've all done that. That's part of like learning and growing a business. We also all know what it's like when you have that one awesome employee that just shows up every day and is like early and like does shit without you even asking. and we don't know how we lucked into them. And the funny thing is, like, there's tons of them out there, but just like anything, you have to be willing to invest, and you have to build the system to go get them. I was talking to, I do some coaching in Ryan Lee's landscape lighting group, and we had a Teams call today, like all employee culture related stuff. And Clark, one of the guys on the call, he had watched some webinars that Sean Day and I from Hire Lead Chill had done on just our entire recruiting system. We had like 5 webinars on the whole process. And he was working on hiring some guys. I said, Clark, just go like watch each one of these and take what you can do. You might not be able to implement everything, but like take the things that are like the low hanging fruit and go for it. And he did. And so he's got all these guys going. And as we're on the call, he's like, yeah, like hired 4 guys that worked really well. And 2 are just like total studs, and 2 are like pretty good. And they, one guy shows up a little bit late, and the other guy shows up a little bit late. And so as he's like talking through this, he's like, so I guess like they're really good compared to what I used to have. But now that I know how to recruit more people, I probably should just go hire better people and get rid of those 2 guys. And it's really funny watching him, because all of a sudden he's like, oh, like, I don't need to put up with that. Like, I know how to go find more of the guys that are really good. It's like, why am I putting up with these guys that like are okay and are comfortable on a roof? I should just fire them and go get 2 more guys, because now I have a system to actually go find those 2 guys, instead of just like hiring the next okay person that shows up. And it was like he had this epiphany while he was on the call, and it was really funny, like the confidence to be like, oh no, like, no, you're not going to hold me hostage. You're fired, and I'm gonna go replace you. And he's like, and I preach building a list, like have 10 people recruited that you can't even hire right now because you don't have a job for them. Like, build that list, know who you're going to call first. And it's scary until you do it. And then once you do it, you're like, I'm never not going to, why would I stop at 10? Why wouldn't I have 20 people I'm going to call? Why stop at 10? And so like now he's starting to build his list, and he's just like, yeah, I don't know why these 2 guys are still here. Like, as I'm talking about it, like they're good, but I still have to, like, I'm still waiting for them a little bit.
You got to get rid of those 2 people, because if you don't, the 2 good people are going to notice that you're allowing now with those 2. And now those 2 good
everybody's going to be start showing up.
Now you got 4 crappy employees. So like, it's like, pick your poison. It's like, hey, you can keep going along telling yourself they're going to get better and they're learning from this, but they're not. And it
always goes the other way. It's always the bad employees don't get better. The good employees get worse.
Yeah.
That's how.
I say the thing with building that team, that, granted, whatever you're listening to, that kind of becomes the thing that you're really focusing on. Love you too.
Love you too.
I love
Rob.
you, Dan. Yep. But I'm re-listening to the Talent War. It's basically about military operations, building their teams and staff and everything. You're gonna realize, and we recently switched recruiting companies, but I've been trying to outsource that and offload that pretty heavily for a couple years, and that actually is a major issue that I should not have done. I should not have taken my focus off of that hiring side, and being more involved already has made a big difference in that. And it's something that, like, I think as a business owner, it's easy to say, like, well, we'll just put job ads. And then, like, I used to have stay-at-home moms like read through the applicants, because my brain cells literally were like evaporating reading the stuff. And then realized, with the company that we just left, like, they were greenlighting people that had no qualifications whatsoever for the position. And then, like, once I start like looking at the job ads and stuff and realizing, like, yeah, this is attracting the wrong person, and the whole, well, we got to spend more marketing on, promoting these jobs and stuff. It's like, no, and Dan, for you, it's like, no, if I want to catch a good fish, I should find a better way to fish, not try to catch 500 fish and hope that 2 of them are good fish.
Yeah.
I just wasted a lot of time and energy. There's got to be a better bait. There's got to be a better spot. There's got to be something I need to change to attract 50 okay fish that have, 10 keepers in them,
Yeah.
It's also making sure the whole process and asking the right questions. I had a guy that I was ready to hire. Everything was great. He did the phone interview. Christine's like, he's great. He showed up 10 minutes early, dressed apart, answered every question great. And then I get to the question, what did you love most about your last job? And he was a security guard for one of those 55 and older communities. And he's like, oh, I got to sit around all day. And I'm like, I just want to be like, get the hell out of my office right now.
Yeah. What gave you the inclination that was a good answer?
Well, that's the thing. If you ask the right questions, people are gonna like let the cat out of the bag. Like, there's no way he went in that interview like, I'm gonna tell him that I love standing around. But like, you catch someone off guard by asking the right questions, and then bam, it's like, oh, it's like, or what did you like least about your last job? And then they start blasting like, oh, my old manager Dan was such a jackass, and this and that. And like, you don't think that same thing's gonna happen to you, and now he's gonna replace Dan with Fred now? Like, it's the same thing. So it's like, you ask the right questions, and now all of a sudden you're gonna get this information, and now you just saved yourself a whole bunch of money by bringing this person on, training him for a couple of weeks. And I have a head trainer that's like part of our team. I didn't need another operations role, but you know what that did? After 2 weeks, if he gives me the double thumbs up, like that person's good, I know we're good. I know there's no problems. There's no more, I don't want to work with Jimmy. I don't want to work with this person. That doesn't happen anymore. Because if they go through my head trainer and he gives me the thumbs up, I know that that person's a member of the team and everyone's good with them. And if he comes to me within a few days or a week, he's like, I know I got to get rid of that person. It makes it real easy, and you empower your own team. And like, to me, that helps a ton.
So with that head trainer, so we deal with a similar thing. We got 3 lead techs that have all been with us basically a year. They're too nice about it. And we're getting where we'll do the working interview, the shadow day stuff. And like, I mean, they were okay. They were all right. And it's like, no. Like, do you want to work with this person for the next 2 weeks? And they're like, well, I want people to be able to make some money and have a job. And it's like,
well, forget the
you have.
Would you want to work with this person for the next 6 months? They'll tell you that. We're stuck with them for half a year. Like, I wouldn't want to do that. Like 2 weeks, they'll bear it just to like, okay, they don't want to hurt this person's feelings or their family situation. But 6 months, now you're bothering me, and it's like, I'm not having that. So like, it's like, you can even if they're nice, you can even ask them the right questions or have them fill out a form about like where they rank on certain stuff, and they'll let the cat out of the bag for that one too.
Yeah.
I had our team actually let our last person go. And my question to them was, can she be the best in the world at this job? If she can't be the best in the world, like, we're not good bookkeeping. We're not pretty fucking good bookkeeping. We're best damn bookkeeping. Like, if you don't think she can be the best in the world, then we can't have her here because you guys are. And she can't hang. If she's not as good as you guys, she just can't hang. That doesn't mean she's a bad person. That just means we're doing her a disservice if we keep her around. Is she a great person? Yep. Great personality? Yep. Does she fit the core values? Yep. Is she the best at this in the world? Nope. Can't hang. Gotta go. Sorry. Like, I'll be the messenger, but like, if she can't, if we're not 100% certain that she can't be the best in the world, gone. Yeah. And I didn't used to be so selfish, but I didn't used to know I could go build a huge list of applicants. And like, once you build that list and you can throw people back really fast if they're not the perfect fit, you get so confident in like getting really selfish about finding the right people. And I don't, it's selfish in a funny way. Cause like, yeah, it's great as a business owner if you have the best employees in the world, but oh my gosh, is it great for your team? Like, they want to work with people that they don't have to cover for. And that's one thing. When I build our list, everybody, I talked about this on my episode earlier today. I always make a joke about it. Like, I do a group interview and I'm like, let me disappoint you right away. Kind of like I do in my marriage. I don't have a job
by going hunting for 3 weeks.
Yeah, being gone 3 out of 4 weeks. I don't have a job for 6 to 12 months for you. I don't have a job. I'm fully staffed. But I'm recruiting right now to make you one guarantee, which is if and when you work here, you will never have a shitty coworker. Because I promise you, I will always recruit like crazy, and I will not sacrifice our quality and our culture to have an average employee here. They will not make it. And know for your own sake, I'm putting at least 500 people through this. Like, you guys made it through here, but I'm not stopping. And I'm going to call the best person first. And so, like, you're just, if you're in, you're just never going to have a shitty coworker because A, I've got a lot of people to pick from, and I'm going to pick the best person. And B, if they aren't working out, I got so many people banging on my door that want to work here. I have no reservation about letting somebody go. And I'm not doing it to their detriment. I'm doing it for the benefit of the rest of y'all that are working here, that you will never have somebody that can't hang with you.
You're only as good as your weakest link. Like, that saying is so true, man. It's so true. Like,
super true. And Rob, to what you said, I did that at Blue Skies. I gave up the recruiting process way too soon. And I would say recruiting is way more important than sales. It's still sales. It's the exact same thing as sales, just different audience, right? But that customer in recruiting is worth $100,000 to $500,000, depending on your industry, probably. It's a pretty big freaking sale. It's hard to give that. Like, I'll give up the sales to customers that are between 1,000 and 100,000. Go sell them all day long. I don't need to be the one that sells that, but I do need to be the one that sells the 100,000 to 500,000 employees. Those ones are really valuable, and a customer doesn't need to be a great fit. Right? Like, their culture doesn't need to be perfect. It can be close. I mean, if they're a huge pain in the ass, you're probably not going to serve them, right? We all have like a few customers get blacklisted, but we'll put up with some crap from our customers. You can't put up with crap from your employees. It's so much more important that you get it right. Like, finding the right customer, yeah, it's important, but you're willing to pay me? Yeah, you can be my customer. It's not that way with employees, right? Like, it's got to be the right fit. Like, it needs to be the best salesperson in the company doing the recruiting. And for a long time, that's probably you. I want to hold on. We got to hit some things here.
Those commercial breaks.
No, we don't. No commercial breaks on this one. Although Jai did jump on earlier and mess with my audio to scare me. Brian says salespeople is my weak spot. Overall, tech's never been my issue. Once I realized that I'd rather not work versus the wrong person. Salespeople drive me crazy. Salespeople are tricky because they're generally more motivated by money, and so like, culture can be trickier to find the right person that's the right fit. I don't know if you guys have found this, but one thing I found is I've stopped trying to find salespeople, because if we do things right, we don't need to sell anything. I need expectation setters. People are already wanting what we have. And that's true in window cleaning. That's true in pressure washing. That's true in bookkeeping. People want what we have. We built a good thing. We don't need to sell it. People already want it. They call us. They book time with us. So I don't need to sell them anything. I just need to know. I just need to make sure they understand what they're getting. And so it's expectation setting, which is kind of funny because then that salesperson is maybe even a different person. And I found that in my last business, I hired a salesperson and it sucked because they're really busy trying to sell people stuff. And I was like, no, stop trying to sell them stuff. They already want it, dude. Like, just ask them questions to find out what's going on in their life and in their business. You don't have to sell them anything. Just understand what they need and make sure we're a good fit. That's
they were all already sold on the bush lights.
Yeah. Like, what's there to understand? It's the best damn bookkeeping. You already know what you're gonna get. They already know why they're here for a meeting. They don't have to sell them anything. Have you guys found that to be true on the sales side for your businesses?
What's funny is last year our marketing lady that we had, she outsold all three of our salesmen with a quarter of the opportunities. Outsold them. And yes, she was doing a little bit more of some of the networking stuff. Their sales numbers weren't spectacular by any means, but she It's like she did the basics. She followed up. She got the pricing. She sent it to him multiple ways. And like sales has been a struggle for us because we'll get people that it's like we keep trying to change around compensation and stuff. And like for the right person, the money's there, you know. And we had a guy do a ride along today. An older guy who's, you know, a well-seasoned person is what I'll say. Like he's done a lot of different things. Smart guy. We didn't connect well, but he's like, so, you know, why don't you have a bunch of people that have been here for a long time, and especially in the sales position? And it's like, I mean, I can give you all of these, you know, excuses, reasons, whatever. But it's also been like, hey, literally, these are the basic things that I need you to do. I need you to run these estimates. I need you to take pictures of them. I need you to text clients when you're on your way. You know, I need you to leave a hard copy at the house. We brought a guy back this summer and he's like, well, I'm closing 50%. And it's like, dude, but you're literally not pricing out everything we can do. And you're not leaving a hard copy there. And then I found the hard copies still in his vehicle. I was like, what good does that do anybody? You're going to write this out on a piece of paper with the pricing. And we put a picture in company cam so the office can see it right away. But you're not going to leave that on the front door. And then you're like, well, they won't answer my calls. Well, dude, the only way I can guarantee you that you're going to see my price is when I put it on your friggin' front door. You're going to see that unless a competitor comes out and steals that from the front door. They're going to see my price. They can disregard all the emails, all the text messages, but it's on your damn door. You're going to see it.
You ain't going to leave it there forever.
No. Sorry, that was a little rant.
It's funny because people do overcomplicate it, and it's just not that hard. It's like just do the simple stuff, just do the follow-ups.
But it is two different positions we're talking about. Like we're talking about an estimator, which is a lot of the traits we're talking about, where you're giving them the leads and you're just expecting them to do follow the process and just do everything they're supposed to. And then you do need the people that are going out to get their own leads too, and that's a different animal. And it doesn't mean they have to be selling water to a whale type of deal, but they do have to be able to go out there, shake hands, kiss some babies, and relationship build and building the relationships. And that to me is where the game is played, especially in the commercial property management side of things. And I think there is something to be said. And then I throw in a hire bus on all this. All of a sudden we had a residential guy and some of his follow-ups like, hello, Mrs. Jones, did you receive our estimate? Yes, I did. Okay, great. Well, I hope you have a great day. Let me know if you need anything else. And it was like, that's freaking terrible. That's not the script we gave you. And then all of a sudden he does the hire boss and he scored a 1. And it's like, all right, I should have done this all along. Like this is the problem right here.
Yeah. The writing's on the wall there.
Yeah, we switched to hire bus and it's fun because like I took the thing and it's like, Rob, you are great at inside and outside sales, creative marketing, CEO, you're a 5. But guess what? I'm the CEO. So yeah, I want to replace myself. And I'd be fine going like in selling. I could go be the superstar technician, but like that's what kind of sucks is like you grow into those spots and those positions and you're like, well, this is the hat I need to wear a lot today. Like, I just want to go install stuff. Put me in a lift all day.
That is the funny thing. That is the funny thing about running a small business is you wear the hats, and as you like mature in it and you get more reps in it, you know when it's happening, and that probably makes it more frustrating. Early on, you're just like, yeah, I'm the owner operator. I can do all the things, and then eventually you're like, I'm stuck doing shit I don't want to do, and then eventually you're like, I know that I'm not even the best person for this. Like, and like you get more aware of what you really want to do and what you're really good at. And you're like, like I shouldn't be the one doing this. Can I afford to pay somebody else to do this yet?
My guys look at me like I can't even clean anything anymore. Like I forgot how to do everything because like I'm not out there doing it anymore. I'm like, don't forget that like out of these 20 years, 10 years, I was busting my butt doing everything you were doing. So like I didn't forget.
Yeah, I was listening to Tommy's recent podcast, and he was, the guy was talking to me. He's like, "Stop doing $25 an hour tasks," and I'm out there today, like installing our, Wi-Fi extender and the Ring cameras and stuff. And it's like, I keep trying to have other people do it. Like yesterday, I prepped 650 multicolor C9 bulbs in the field with my guys, And like, I'm like timing myself. How fast can I do this? All right, I can do it in 18 minutes. All right. So they have like 25 to 30 minutes to prep, this amount or whatever. And it's like, I know that I'm setting that pace for them. I know that I'm setting that. And it's like, that is a Rob, I got to get over this. I got to have the person that can just go ahead, dude, just go ahead and prep them. Just don't screw up screwing light bulbs in. Like, Just get it done. But,
you got to get rid of those $25 an hour tasks, and then you'll have that time to focus on the hiring or the sales and the important stuff that matters. And the right guys, they'll take care of those bulbs. They'll take care of the power washing. They'll take care of whatever it is. But that's definitely, we're all been guilty of that at some point for sure.
I've got I have a pile of questions here, which could keep us going the whole time. But Fred, I do want to hit on your coaching experience. You were coaching in Conquer for at least a few years, right?
Yeah, it was 2.5, 3 years. Yep.
What was some of like the most impactful things that you saw, right? It's a cool lens to have working with business owners in that way and like help seeing their decision-making process and guiding them. What were some of the most impactful things that you saw? And what were some of the things that you saw where people like just couldn't overcome things where it was almost too sticky?
Yeah, you see a mix of both, and especially over a few years and working with different people. Like the most proud is when you're helping people achieve what they set out and they told you when you first met them that they wanted to reach, and that they didn't necessarily know if it was doable, and they were like, they had their doubts, and now you're getting these messages like, oh my God, like our August is completely filled. Like before we started working with you, like I used to be bone dry in August, and now it's filled because we flipped our mentality and we started going after these customers and doing X, Y, and Z. And really getting people over the $1 million mark was like always like made me really proud, like especially whatever revenue range they came in at. But just I knew from my experiences that was a hurdle. So seeing them do that and then letting them run free from there was always great. At the same time, people get stuck in their ways too, and they essentially they know they should be doing certain stuff, but all of a sudden it's like week after week, it's like, let me see your P&L, let me see your stuff. Oh yeah, I'll get it to you. And it's like they're just not doing it. It's like you can keep running back out into the field, and that's the other one. Like the owner getting stuck in that owner-operator mode where it's like that's not where they envisioned and what they told me they wanted to do, but yet they keep running back to doing it. And I get it. Like you get the guy calling out, or you've got so much work, whatever, but like it's one thing to go in for a few days, and it's another thing to be in there every single day, because it's the old saying, if you're working in your business, you're not working on your business. And like that really is true, because there's only so many hours in a day. So for me, it was really impactful to see people reaching the goals that they set out for, and overall just quality of life. To me, like an important thing, and you guys are dads and family men, like seeing people actually not only reaching the numbers and stuff, but now it's like not working on the weekends, getting home for dinner. Like that's just a win right there. Like to me, like I pride myself on that stuff too. Of like, no, you don't have to go from 5 a.m. to until 9 at night. Like that's not healthy, and that's not the long term. That's no good, and you're going to be missing out on valuable family time. So to me, that part is huge too, is incorporating that.
I'm glad you said that, because I do want to pat myself on the back real quick, if you don't mind. And this is mostly if my wife ever listens to this episode. This is after I had a 2-week-long elk hunting trip. And then I did have to, this is annoying. And I know you're all going to be like, I can't believe you had to do that. But I had to move a 5-day fishing trip so that they didn't overlap. So I had to like bump the 5-day fishing trip back a little bit. Like,
that's really nice of you, Dan.
Really, like, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Big deal. But previously, when I was like running all of our day-to-day businesses, I was like out there early, coming home late, like lucky if I could get the kids. A lot of it fell on my wife. Now I do 3 out of the 5 days where I've got like drop-offs in the mornings, and then I do most of the pickups because I have the most schedule flexibility. I also like jump on a lot at night and get some pricing things done or whatever. But to your point, Fred, like, that's a huge win.
Huge.
That's like re-engaging with the family to another level. And I feel like I missed that for 3, 4, 5 years of the hustle and grind of like being out in the field, doing the thing every day. And that you can't stress that part enough, because you can't get it back.
No,
There's no
you can't. When my daughter was born 7 years ago, she was born 6 weeks early. She was in NICU. I was out working and going into the damn field. I remember cleaning chandeliers, feeling like absolute crap, knowing my wife and my newborn daughter in NICU together, and I'm cleaning this schmuck's chandelier. And I'm like, and now at this day and age, now you got the male paternity leave, and it's a whole nother thing. But like as business owners, we don't necessarily have that ability. So like I had to get out there. It was the busy season and whatever was going on, and it's just like, damn, it's like that you realize how that's the most important thing. And that's why we're all working our butts off is for that. So if we're not enjoying that's worth money to me. Like to have that ability to, hey, there's this going on at their class, stop over there, go pick them up over there, drop them off here. Like that, to me, that's important.
It is quite the ironic thing. And Latimer has said this. Josh has made the point a lot of times of like, I'm just doing this so my wife thinks I'm cool. And it's funny, but a lot of the reason why we like put ourselves through what we put ourselves through is so that our wife and our kids think we're awesome. And yet they're the ones that get sacrificed the most when we're trying to be our badass working selves. It's pretty damn ironic.
Yeah.
And struggle's not the right word, but I think about often that I do want my kids to see me working and working hard and ask me questions about it. And I get to show them how I'm helping people and I'm changing people's lives. I think that's really important that they see that. And that tonight we watched a movie and dad made dinner and we get to hang out and we're goofing around. And the other night I was fixing a toilet. I took our bathroom apart. We had like a leaky toilet. I took the toilet out. I had to replace some subfloor and I'm like, doing projects that I probably should have delegated out. We'll see after a couple days if there's water back all over the basement. We'll see how it did. But I wanted to see that too, right? Like I wanted to see dad wrenching on stuff. And they can be a part of it, right? Like they want to help, air quotes, they want to help. And so that makes any project take
bring daddy another beer.
Yeah.
I love incorporating them though. Like whenever we have Clearview outings, I bring the kids on board. I want them to be part of the whole thing, and like they get into it. Like we surprised our team this year, and we told them we were going to a training at a shopping center. We were going to have our sales guys cleaning. We were going to have our technicians quoting. The office was going to like do something in between, and they all show up, and we were really actually just going to the Nike store and giving everyone $250 to go have some fun, and then go back and grow it. And like the kids were in on it, they had fun with it, and like they saw the joy and the happiness that it brought to everyone there, and then we go around. My wife always has a little thing where she asks a question about like, what's the strength that you have that's an asset to the company? What's something that no one knows about you? And like it just opens this whole beautiful can of worms, and like they see all this happening. They're hearing the things being said. They see us running the show, and like I think they're picking up on it and they appreciate it. And I love that aspect of things, like you said.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's one of those things where you can't, it's kind of like having kids in a way where it's not for everybody. Like not everybody should scale a business and have a bunch of employees. It sucks at times. And we see that watching other parents, and you're like, man, I don't know if they should be having kids or not. Like, and you see that with other business owners. And Fred, I don't know, did you ever see that in coaching where you're like, I don't know how to tell somebody, and I've run into clients like that where I'm just like, I don't know how to tell you, but I don't. In my mind, I'm saying like, I don't know that you should scale a business, right? There's certain people that just should stay like a dude and a helper, and that's fine. That's a fine business to have. Scaling a business is definitely not for everybody. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be a business owner. But I definitely run into some too where I'm just like, you just should be an employee. I don't know how to tell somebody that. I've never told anybody that, but there's a few times where I've been working with somebody. I'm just like, oh, it's just.
Well, the threshold with Conquer was generally about $300,000 in revenue. So I felt like they had some baseline. Like it wasn't like the just starting off where it's like they're teetering, but yeah, not everyone is definitely cut out for it. But I see Cole. What's up, Cole? I actually worked with Cole for a little bit before I left Conquer.
Oh, sorry to hear that. You had
to answer his question, though, the average day for the commercial sales is like it's all relationships. It's being in all those organizations, like, and once you're in every single one, like for us, we're in 2 different community association institutes, both in New Jersey and the Keystone chapter. We're in the IREM, we're in BOMA, we're in the apartment association, we're in the school grounds and maintenance association. Like, there's like events and expos and get-togethers and all that stuff. And now you have these books with all these people, and then you tie in LinkedIn and doing the posts and connecting with all these people. It's all relationships. It really is. And once you gain these relationships, that's when it opens the doors. That's when you get those opportunities. Like, I'm sure we've all gotten that before. It's like, we want to use you guys, but we might need a couple more quotes. And it's like, well, I can have a couple guys send you some quotes if you want, like whatever you want. Like, if we have that relationship and you're cool with that, I can have a couple buddies that have power washing business in Jersey send you a couple quotes, and I'll return the favor to them too. Like, so It's all about just building those relationships, meeting people for lunch, explaining your vision, trying to connect with them. But that's really the biggest is for that is the relationships within all the organizations.
Yeah. It's commercials a little tricky too, because it's a timing thing. Right. They have a budget season, and that relationships don't happen right now because you made a phone call.
No.
They happen because you showed up 20 times.
Yeah.
And you supported without asking for anything in return. And you get that like law of reciprocation that eventually comes around.
We're doing a $165,000 roof job that hopefully we'll be finally finishing next week. But like, that sucker took 3 years to land. That was like a lot of like communication and relationships and seeing the person and demoing and like, you name it. But like, obviously the fruits of all that labor. It's like when you're doing commercial sales, you're like a farmer. You're planting seeds everywhere, and you're just hoping for a hell of a harvest. Obviously, sometimes it's for budgetary, sometimes it's for immediate. It's a mixed bag, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of opportunities that are out there. And the beautiful thing about commercial to me is the fact that it's year round. Like, we can all be busy in the exterior cleaning field in April, May, June, and then like October, November. But I just named like 5 or 6 months. We got 12 months in a year. So it's like, what are you doing with those other months to make sure that your guys are busy so you don't lose all your employees when you're not in the peak season? And like, to me, that's where the commercial comes from. And plus, commercial's the one thing where if you have a job, you could shave off days. You got a residential job, you might shave off hours. Yeah, hours is great and all, but if you got a $15,000
you
job,
don't get to move the needle that much.
Yeah, and now you can replace those with some residential jobs if you finish that commercial job 2 days early, and now it's a double positive, and it's really helping a lot.
So Cole asked a question, which and there's some other questions I want to get to. Alvin asked a question. I think I saw some stuff from Chad that I want to hit on. So if you guys are still watching, hang in there for a little bit. We're going to get to them. Cole threw a thing out, and this is kind of where I want to take that. You're not coaching at Conquer anymore. You decide if you want to get into whatever happened. I saw the post, and I just thought it was funny. Side note, tangent. They asked to sponsor my podcast. If you know, you know, and I said no. I was just like, it was before I saw your post. But it's just not. I just don't.
Well, they would have made you switch to them.
I just don't like.
Yeah, we talked about how painful it is to switch CRM. So I'm not doing that to keep coaching. And that's a disservice to my people. Like, to me, it was like I'm legitimately going to look my team, the 20 team members. I'm going to go in the office tomorrow and say, "Hey guys, we're switching to House Call Pro." Why? Oh, so I can keep coaching. Like, no, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not doing that. Like,
it would have cost you at least half of what you made it as a coach.
And honestly, Jobber is way better than House Call Pro. So honestly, to me, it was a no-brainer.
I don't like House Call Pro. And I'm not here to dog on CRMs. They've got some good stuff. Different CRMs are so visually and tactically appealing to different people. There's not one that's the right fit. I'm biased because I'm on the back end. I want to get the data out of it. I'm not on the data input side. I'm on the data output side. And House Call Pro, of all the ones I see, is the worst at getting data out of it in an organized way that you can manipulate or use. And I've given them that feedback so many times to so many different people, and I just have never seen them. I get the classic oh, it's in the pipeline, which I think they're not. It's on the list. Yeah, I think that's every CRM ever. They have a list of about 1 billion things, and so it's on a list. It'll be 20 years before we get to it. That always frustrates me because it makes us worse at bookkeeping. If we can't get good accrual sales data by service type, I want to be able to report to a client how much they did in window cleaning versus pressure washing versus gutter cleaning versus holiday lights. And I can't get service level revenue data out of House Call Pro in any efficient manner that I can like report back to a client with the rest of their bookkeeping stuff. That's just me. That's just me.
I don't want to hear that I have to do special tags for everything to get that either. It's like that's always like the answer. I feel like, oh, you got to tag.
Yeah, and like a tag isn't a reliable, repeatable process that I can do versus like, oh, I enter the service. It's like I have to put in the service.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I just be able to report by the service? Like I literally am building an invoice with that service in there. Just let me report by that service. It's weird, but it's like that I can see past. It's the weird behaviors like, Fred, you need to do this or you can't coach anymore. That wasn't where I wanted to go with this, but I do think that's weird. I do think that's weird. But to Cole's point, he said, let me know when you're ready to coach again. And so the question I do want to ask you is like, how many hours did that free up for you? Because coaching is a commitment. Like that is a time.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to lie. The past 2 months or month and a half or whatever it's been, I've been enjoying that and putting all that time and energy into my own business and focusing on that. And I still keep, like, I get a bunch of messages with questions. I love all of the people I work with, so I'll always answer all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it freed up a ton of time. And like, I always felt like I knew I had like my Wednesday calls at this time, my Thursday calls at this time, my Tuesday. And like, now it's like when I'm driving to work, I'm not thinking about that crap anymore. Cause now my focus is all on Clearview.
It's weird too. I mean, when you're running a business, you're and I talk about this in a tax perspective with a lot of my clients. They're like, oh, is this a business expense? And I'm like, are you a business owner? Are you ever not thinking about your business? Like, I'm not saying write off your hot tub, but like, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, yeah, you're just always doing business. If you run into somebody at the grocery store and they talk to you about pressure washing, are you going to be like, sorry, Mrs. Jones, I'm off the clock. I'm not going to talk to you about pressure washing. Hell no. I had a lady one time, like true story, at the grocery store that's literally 2 blocks from my house. I'm in a truck with my company logos on it. And she's like, sir, are you local? And I did the thing where I like looked around. I was like, you're talking to me? Like me that's getting into a truck with my logo on it that has our area code on it, our phone number on it. You want to know if I operate locally?
And
yes,
and
ma'am.
milk and eggs.
I'm right here. What do you need? She's like, oh man, I need my windows cleaned so bad. And I was like, well, let's get you set up and we'll come out and do an estimate. But it was so funny. Like, are you local? I was like, I don't know how to answer that.
It's the same people that call us for gutter cleaning and they're like, you do power wash? Do you power wash too? The company is called Clean Power Wash. Really? I don't even
know customers when they do that. How about the people when you're in a networking group and you get up and do your commercial every week talking about all your services, and then like the person's been in the group with you for like 2 years, and then they'll be like at one point like, I didn't know you guys cleaned windows before. But like, are you just like passed out while I'm talking every week? Like, how do you never hear any of this stuff? Like that blows my mind. Like,
okay,
they're just scrolling through their phone. They're just sitting there scrolling through their phone every week. It's good.
So passed out, right, Fred? When you guys were talking before I hopped on, talking about the guy falling asleep on the ladder, right?
Yeah.
Last year we got the guys. They're all getting ready in the morning, and we got this job for this one crew. It was like a $8,500 commercial light install, right? Hour away, all the way up in Lewis, and we're like, "Where's this guy?" I'm like, "Can't find him." They're like, "Oh, I think he's asleep in the truck." They're like, okay, like whatever, dude. You want to sleep in the truck on the way there? Like, great, it's an hour. One person needs to not fall asleep, and that's usually the person driving. Let's just keep going, right? So like, I get out, I talk to him for a minute, and I'm like, hey, knock on the door. Like, first I like go up to the side of the vehicle, and I'm like, hello, do you see me? And then I was like, there's no reaction. Knock on the window, and he finally responds. I'm like, are you okay? And then you can tell like he was on something. And of course the guys are like, well, I've been on other drugs. That kind of seemed like he was on this and this together, which is things you shouldn't put together. So it was like, yeah, don't send this guy to this job site. No, I'm not paying for him to be under the influence, to go an hour away, to be absolutely no help to the guys that are doing this project, or for the client to be like, Yeah, so 2 guys are working. One guy's passed out in the truck. I haven't seen him do anything. Like,
it's not looking good.
and then the guy like,
feelings for him.
what? And then like we're like, dude, you're done. Like you were under some severe narcotic influence. Like this isn't even like I just showed up with a hangover. Or I'm a little high. Like, dude comes back like a month later. Is like, man, I'm really sorry. Can I get another chance? And it's like, dude, no. Like you literally you put everybody at risk that day.
What
You
was
put
he on? Did you say what he was on? Did you ask him what he was doing?
Dude, we figured it was probably a Percocet plus something else. I don't remember what it was at the time, but it was like, I mean, literally full-blown space cadet, sleepy, like, and honestly, it was like, 21 Jump Street, where like they find like the special drugs that they're dealing, and like they're like trying to lick the ice cream cone, but that's like the sports coach, and like just all the different stages of it all at once without the energy. It was just like the and it's like, dude, it's 7:35. You've already been asleep for 25 minutes in the back of the truck before it's even left.
Man, he was probably concussed because he probably just dove through a gong,
dude. It was so bad.
He was waiting for the stop sign to turn green.
and then of course, Fred, you get you talk to that person, they're like, what do you mean I can't sleep on the job? I wish somebody told me I couldn't sleep on the job. Like,
this is discrimination against tired people, man.
Yeah. Well, we've had the guys that's like, oh, so you played video games till 5:30 in the morning. Yeah. See, I need you to work, not you're not a professional sleeper. Like you said with the guy who's like, I love sitting and on my butt and getting paid.
Yeah, that was the best part of the job.
Let me answer a question for Chad real quick. He's talking about cash flow. The greatest thing I ever did with that is residential credit card on file when they book.
Mm-hmm.
I did the credit card on file for booking. Commercial, 50% deposit. You do those two things, cash flow and that stressful Thursday running payroll and making sure you got the money in the account, like that goes away. And we did that 2 years ago, and like it's been magic. So
how did you get, from a commercial standpoint though, how did you make them do that? And like,
we literally just send them the invoice after they sign off on it. We say, okay, we're going to send you the invoice now for 50% deposit. The only ones that won't do it is a government job. That's it. Like,
yeah,
but we're talking like 90% of the commercial jobs give you that 50%. And 2 years ago it was 33%. We did a third. And then I'm like, if they have no problem paying a third, why not just do a half? So we did a half, and no one blinked an eye. And everyone was worried about that. Like, oh, you're increasing it from a third to a half. No one even thought twice about it. We just make it. That's our process. Now we're going to get you on the schedule. You signed up on your quote. I'm not telling them that crap ahead of time either. I'm not trying to harm our getting the job or any of that. But I'm telling you, 50% deposit before we start the job, and the credit card on file for the residential, and bam, the cash flow went away.
We've been waiting since July for a $40,000 project to be paid.
Yeah.
Ooh. And August will be like the worst month of not work. Like financially, it's like everybody else was dead, no work to do, and I'm like, we're doing all this work, and we have $100,000 in AR and no extra money in the bank, and I'm writing your staff's like, what's this interest for? Is it personal? And it's like, I mean, it is the personal interest on my home equity line of credit, but that was the money that was a week of payroll, and so now we have the interest on it. And until we're like, I'm waiting for this $40,000 check, once we get that, then like things are much better. And it's overall, we're doing better now because we did another commercial project that was like, yeah, we'll pay you a credit card.
To have like $250,000 on the street, and like you're sucking wind to like pay your bills and pay the guys and payroll, like that sucks. That keeps people up at night, and it's like that's not a good feeling. So it's like, how do we eliminate that? Because like that just is. And once they pay you that deposit, they got skin in the game now. They're less likely to try to cancel some stuff, less likely to try to throw you off the job or any of the crap that they might try to pull. Like once they have that deposit in there, it kind of goes away too. So
yeah, Chad said he does Jim Beam and 4 Roses outside of Louisville, not Louisville, because I always want to say Louisville because it looks like Louisville, but they say it like they're like on Percocet and whatever else Rob said. Louisville, let's drag it out. They don't do unders. Yeah, that's but those are tricky too. And I was wondering, like, you don't want to like play hardball with your clients, right? Like it can erode the relationship, but it is one of those things where it's like, hey, if you pay that 50% deposit, we're there, man. We're gonna do everything we said we do. If you don't pay it, you're likely to get bumped. Like you have not reserved your spot, right? Yeah. The 50% deposit is what guarantees your spot on the schedule. If you don't pay it, I'm going to put somebody else in that spot that really wants that spot. So if you want that spot, you can pay. If you don't want that spot, we'll get to you when we get to you. Yeah. And like, I'm fine either way, right? If you don't want to pay me to be able to pay my employees, then I ain't going to have any employees to send to you. Yeah. Like you're running a business.
And everyone's always talking about that 60 to 90 days. Like, I don't want to be waiting for 100% of that money for 60 to 90 days. Like, that sounds absolutely terrible.
I'll do the job with all the employees that I can pay with the 0% deposit you gave me. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna buy all the chemical that I can buy to clean your stuff with the 0% deposit you gave me,
dude.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like that's where.
Okay, we're done. We did as much as we can do with the 0% deposit you paid us. We're good.
We did the $40,000 college project, and then we booked a $43,000 like rust removal project that was like, all right, hey Hinderlighter, I need $4,000 in rust remover plus, and I told the client right up, I was like, that's fine, you can approve 41,000. I'm gonna do this section, you're gonna get invoicing, you need to pay that, and then you're gonna get an invoice for the next section. So we did it. It was like $8 or $9,000, 23,000 was like the next big section, and then like another 16 or whatever it was. And it's like, I can do this. I can manage to like split this up, but I'm not waiting until we're done a 3-week project to then send you an invoice and then play it's Jeopardy. Let's wait and see how long until you pay me. No.
And then they'll wait 30 days to tell you they're missing something that they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like paying the credit card fee, but I was like, the money is in the bank now. It's just a cost of doing business.
Yeah.
So Fred, I want to hit Alvin's question. I'm gonna go back up a little bit. We're gonna nerd out on that one, but first, is there an inkling for you to go back into coaching? Like, you seem passionate about it.
Yeah.
If the right opportunity came along, would you be back in coaching, or is it more like, hey, right now, I just like having that time back, and it's a big time drain, and your brain is working on other people's problems too when you're not coaching. I find like you're thinking about their stuff instead of thinking about your stuff, and that's not good or bad. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Is it hey, I'm gonna take a little siesta from the coaching for a little bit, but maybe entertain it, or are you for sure gonna do it again, or for sure not gonna do it again? What's your thought?
So I feel like I'm for sure gonna do it again. I'm just not in a crazy rush. I want to make the right decision, kind of exploring all the options. Mm-hmm. And luckily, there are a bunch of options on the table. It's just trying to see what makes the most sense. To me, I do really enjoy it. It's something that I am passionate about, and like I enjoy helping people because I feel like over the years, like it's evolved a lot over the 20 years I've been doing it. But like, okay, I didn't necessarily have a formal coach during those years where I really needed it, but like I leaned on a lot of different people for advice, and that helped me tremendously. And like I do want to kind of pay it forward, and I think there's the beautiful thing like helping other people reach where they're trying to go. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna get back into it. Just timing wise, gonna wait and see when it makes sense, but probably sooner than later.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Alvin had this question earlier, and I wanted to get to it, but the conversation was going different places. So, Alvin, I apologize. We didn't get to it until now, but I think this is a good one. What's the process when hiring the first employee, being able to provide enough work? Still very small at the point is the one person can no longer work by myself. I'm overbooked, afraid of not being able to afford an employee. That's always.
So I want to jump on this real quick for Alvin, and then I'm probably gonna I'm going to tap out because I'm exhausted. Alvin, early on, the best people to look for are people that are underemployed. And underemployed is the same person like us that wants to hustle. Shoot, I'm dropping my earbuds. Anyways,
Rob, get it together.
Can you hear me still? I have one earbud in this side.
Yeah.
Can't hear so much in this side. Okay.
You talk better out of the right side of your mouth anyway, so you're doing good.
Yeah. But underemployed person is somebody that, hey, if they can get 2 days a week and it's consistent that, hey, every Monday, Tuesday, they're available, you can schedule around that. It's scary to try and get your first full-time, first employee to be a full-time person. It'll be similar to how, with a lot of people in business, you get to the point where like, hey, your side hustle is big enough and busy enough that you jump full time, and now it's busy enough and big enough that you need to add somebody for a little bit, but you don't want to do the full thing. And eventually you do get to the point where it's screw it, man, burn the ships. Let's hire 3 people. And I got to go out and sell to keep 3 people busy. But your underemployed person is fantastic because that's somebody who's still hungry. They're motivated and they want the work versus like, hi, we're looking for people that only need 2 days worth of work a week. They can get the government to pay for the other 5 days. Like I got to find my earbud.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I think that is scary trying to find that person that's the right fit for that, because we just always assume everybody wants the job that we think they want versus finding the person for the job that we have. There's so many people out there that want the job that you have. We just tell ourselves a story that nobody wants it, which it's easy to convince ourselves that somebody doesn't want to work 3 days a week, or somebody doesn't want to work weekends, or somebody doesn't want to work these hours, or whatever the case is. There's somebody out there that wants every job you could possibly think of. There's something that's the right fit for the time in their life, for the person that it is. And are you willing to go find them? This is really the question. Fred, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
To me, the leads run the show. So, like, if you make your focus on selling, you'll force your own hand to have to hire people, and there'll be a good opportunity there for them. And then, to me, once you have that one, and then you start adding on, that's where I work the best, under the pressure of knowing I got to provide the work for these people. Like, that lights a fire under me that I got to do stuff behind the scenes and whenever to make it happen, so that there's stuff there for them. So it's a good pressure to have. And but I would start by, a lot of people do things ass backwards. I learned that in coaching too. Like, people want to go out and get the $30,000 rig. Like, I didn't get my first rigs until like 5 years ago. So like, we went 15 years with like just commercial grade 4,000 4-gallon a minute commercial grade cold water machines. And
I thought that was a good rig. That's still what we run because it cleans the shit out of stuff.
Yeah, but I'm talking like everyone wants the fancy rig with the 8-gallon a minute, the proportioner,
the one that has the monthly payment.
Yeah. It's like we all want that, but like, don't put the cart before the horse. Like, get the work, and then you'll be able to get the employees, and you'll be able to afford the nicer equipment. But like, to me, if you're a smaller company, just invest in good commercial stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be all the bells and whistles initially. You work your ass off, you'll be able to get that stuff. But to me, it's like just making sure that you get those leads first, and then you'll have that motivation to keep that person going, and then you'll get everything else you need.
Yeah, we've got 20 employees, and I don't know how many pressure washers we have, but only one of them isn't on wheels. Like, they're all on wheels, and they're all those like 3,000 to 4,000. Oh yeah, it's just, and it works.
People come to my shop, they're like, you have all these portables? Like, yeah, we still do, because they still come in handy. Like, they're still
they clean great.
Yeah,
and X-Jets work great, and they're cheap and affordable, and when they break, you don't care.
Yeah.
No, so an X-Jet, we keep an X-Jet on all trucks. Because if all else fails, you can X-Jet. And if the X-Jet fails, it's time to just pack your shit up, go home, and have a beer. Like, literally, if you can't, like, at that point, just you're done. You're done. Like,
and the customer, like, as long as the thing's clean, it just does the same thing.
Yeah, they don't care.
One of the that first employee, I like what both of you guys said. Totally agree with everything you said. One of the things I saw, Caleb Winninger had posted this, and it really, like, it opened my eyes up, because I was like, I had just gone through this situation, and I didn't even realize that I had gone through it. In our Cleveland location, we had Nikki. She was our like ops manager. We were moving her to be more of like a GM, and I moved her into the office because that's what you do. If you're going to run a business, you got to be in the office, damn it. At least so I thought. And after 6 months, Nikki was like, hey, Dan, I'm miserable. I hate answering the phone. I hate doing this administrative stuff. It's not for me. I'm going to go find something else. And I was like, shit, like Nikki's awesome. She's an excellent employee. She actually is an account manager in our recruiting business now. And like, if I will employ her anywhere, I have a business. She is just the right type of person with the right behaviors. She's phenomenal. But that wasn't the right job for her. And I'm so glad she spoke up. It's like, Nikki, do you think you can run this business from the field? She's like, yeah, I can. And I actually know a person that can do the admin stuff for us. My friend Billy needs part-time work, loves doing admin stuff. She lives in Michigan. I don't see why she couldn't do the admin stuff for Michigan. And I was like, and this business was in Cleveland. I was like, I don't see why not either. Like, as long as you guys can communicate and stay on top of all the stuff. And at similar time, Caleb had made a point that an admin employee in some cases might be the best first hire for a couple reasons. One is business owners, we suck at admin stuff. We're terrible because we go do the work and the admin stuff is the afterthought. It's the stuff we do at night. It's the follow-ups. It's the sending invoices, the quotes, the doing the payroll stuff, the setting up this system, whatever. So much of that, like 10% of that is strategic, but 90% of it's tactical. That's super easy to delegate. And we suck at it and we procrastinate at it. There's somebody better that's going to do a better job for way less than we cost. And
especially now with the VAs.
Oh, big time. Yeah, this was even like before VAs became a thing. And you can usually find an admin person for part-time super easily. There's that labor market is huge of the stay-at-home moms or the retired folks that just want to pick up 10 to 20 hours a week that are like way overqualified, but are super happy with 15 to 20 bucks an hour to make a few bucks because they're bored. Yeah. Like that labor market is massive. And they can work from anywhere. And so that was one thing that I had like, oh, you got to get the technician because you got to get off the truck and you got to get out of the field. And then when that happened with Nikki, I was like, oh, like you can also, if you like to be out there, maybe delegating the admin stuff. There's a few, and again, it's situational, right? If you hate being out in the field, then get yourself out of the field. And you can't be out there forever because you generally are going to be the salesperson and the marketing person for a long time, but you don't need to be the office manager and the admin person. But when it's that first employee, it's just getting help. I talk a lot, and I didn't make this up, right? But you hear this all over the place. I talk a lot about being in your like apex or at the trifecta of what do you love to do, what are you the best in the world at, and what do people pay you the most for? As a business owner, you get stuck doing shit you don't want to do a lot, that you're not that great at a lot, or that you don't make the most of it. Rob, you were talking about it earlier. But you're always working towards that echelon. You want to get to that where you're spending all of your time at that trifecta. And so if early on you're like, hey, I really enjoy being out in the field and I'm really good at it. And financially, I will tell you, I'm not asking you, I'll tell you all, that's the highest paying job in the company is out in the field, probably until you have 4 people. That's the highest paying job. And so it's okay to be on the truck for a period of time. Again, you can't be out there forever. But maybe an admin person is the right help to get initially. Depends on you, depends on what you love to do, depends on what you're really good at. But I do know for sure, no matter what, you got to hire somebody because you sure as hell can't grow a business with just you. And so figure out what complements you the best and helps you grow the best. And what is, to Fred's point, depending on how you get motivated, it might be go get somebody full-time. And if that like pushes you and motivates you to go, and that's what you need to like go and get those leads and push, like do it to go, like put the cart out there so that funny analogy. I always found like when I ran 40-yard dashes, you know how when they do dog races, they like put a rabbit around the track to like make the dogs run faster. I wish somebody would have like rolled a basketball in front of me. If I'm chasing something, I'm fast as fuck, boy. Like I'm really fast. Like my legs are just going.
It'll be the Olympics and they just rolled a basketball, man.
If they just rolled something for me to chase, dude, I can go really fast. But if you just say like run a 40, I'm running like a 4.8, man. I'm barely scraping below a 5. But if you roll the ball, I'd be like running 4 flat. I'd be breaking like NFL combine records. Like Tyreek Hill, here I come.
Yeah, Tyreek Plata.
Yeah, just I got short, stubby, like
Plata
white
Hill.
Polish legs. I'd be there'd be like smoke coming up from my feet. But I think like that's kind of what you're talking about, Fred, with like put that challenge out there for you to go get. And if that's motivating to you and you know it's motivating to you, you also know you will accomplish it. Like you're not running a small business by accident. You're running a small business because you like pain and suffering and challenges. You wouldn't choose this if you don't enjoy that challenge. So like give yourself that challenge and enjoy the challenge. Like enjoy that journey. Don't fret the journey. Enjoy it. You chose it. It's not happening to you. You're making it happen. Just go make it happen.
And some out. See ya.
See you, Rob.
Keep chatting.
Thanks for co-hosting, Rob.
Yeah.
Crushed it.
Sorry, I've been gone for like over 2 months.
You've been like busy running a business and stuff. Been busy.
Yeah.
Been busy.
Well, it was nice seeing you, brother.
Busy. See you, man. See you guys.
Fred, I gotta close. We're like 2 hours in. I don't know how this happens. This is the Joe Rogan podcast of business. It just goes, and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, we should probably wrap this thing up. And it's an hour later for you out on the East Coast. I got a closing. First, I got a closing question for you. Any like closing comments? We've been talking a lot about employee stuff and growth stuff and purgatory stuff and coaching stuff. Any like final thoughts on all that before we start our wrap up phase? Or anything I did?
Now, pretty much everything I've wanted to convey that's come to mind so far. So I'm feeling pretty good about everything.
We're checking boxes. So here's the closing, and you already kind of hit on this right when we started, and so I'm debating right now if I want to like leave that as an option for you or just take it off the table. But I'd like to know. We'll see where you go with it, and then maybe I'll make you give a second answer depending on how you go with this one. If I'm gonna say like money's not money is irrelevant in some way, but you got to like do something that generates enough income that you're taken care of. Let's say you sell Clearview and you're off and going, but you got to go do something, right? And it's not like as business owners we suck at sitting around. I used to, when in interviews where people would ask me my greatest weakness or whatever, I'd always be like, dude, I suck at being bored, man. I'm the worst at sitting. You don't want to be by me if we're sitting around. It ain't gonna go well. But you're out of the pressure washing. It's not even a thing. But you got to go do something. The world's your oyster. You can go do anything. You had already said food. And so maybe you're going to go that way. And maybe I'm going to say you got to give me your next best answer because you already kind of answered in a way. But if that happened tomorrow, what the hell would you go do?
Well, me and my wife, we strongly want to get into real estate, like whether it be commercial landlord, multifamily residential. That's something we're working on behind the scenes. That's definitely in the works. I feel like every really successful person I know owns a bunch of real estate. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to follow in that pattern. The coaching is something I'm going to do again, but that's not like a forever thing. And then the food and travel and somehow monetize that. So you see so many people nowadays that are able to monetize the stuff that they really enjoy. So, and just being there, enjoying my kids growing up, obviously being ages 7 and 4, there's so many good years ahead too to enjoy that. So I'd probably sprinkle a little bit of everything in there and kind of enjoy it all because I love the kind of the roller coaster of entrepreneurship and all these different opportunities. So that's probably where I'd be leading right now.
Do your kids get into your business at all? Like, do they dig it? Do they want to hear more? Do they want to learn more? Or are they just like 4 and 7 and want to be outside riding?
So it's like I said, both. Like they want to rock the Clearview shirt. Like they love when I bring home the little sizes for them and they got their stuff and they show up. They want to come to events if I got stuff going on, or different Clearview outings, or even like go run an errand or something for the work, or even bring your child to work. They love that. So yeah, I look forward to like bringing them to the huge and stuff. Like I know that they have those groups for like when they're a little bit older, so they can like do that. And I totally gonna do that for sure. But they're at the ages that they're old enough to know, like obviously what mommy and daddy do, and they know all about Clearview and what we offer. But they ask a lot of questions, and I love answering them. And it's like it's coming from a 4 and a 7-year-old, so like it's a little bit of everything in there. And like I enjoy and I'll even say like when we'll be driving, and they'll start saying stuff like, "Do you know what an entrepreneur is?" And they're like, "No, what's an entrepreneur? Do you know what this is that daddy's doing?" Or like, and I kind of like provoke them to ask me some questions because I want them to be involved. And I me and my wife always say like, obviously if they decide they want to be entrepreneurs one day, hell yeah. But I just want them to do whatever they're passionate about and whatever they be the best at whatever you're going to do. So like my wife always gave the example, like if my daughter wanted to be like a hairdresser, like that's fine. Just own the salon and be the boss there too. You know what I mean? Like
go be a kick-ass hairdresser.
Yeah, exactly. Like go to the stars or something, or whatever the case may be. Like you could just be the best at whatever you want to do and enjoy what you do. So I hope they learn from that and they see that, and whatever path they go, I'll support that.
Do they, as to future venture, do your kids get like, are they in the kitchen with you? Do they get into like cooking? And are they like,
yeah. I'm like, when we're breading the chicken cutlets, like I'm showing them, they're the ones dipping in the egg, and then got to make sure we're putting enough breadcrumbs on there. Like they're helping with the meatballs and whatever we're cooking. Like they definitely get into that. They put up their stools, and they even sometimes put on the apron and the little hat, and they get into it for sure. So like I love that because I learned from my grandmother and my mother, and like I want them to see firsthand and get into that. So absolutely.
I like having my kids help, and then there's the other part of me that's like, God, they're making such a mess. I just don't know how to deal with it. Tonight, Crosby, our 2-year-old, just like we were hanging out, we were watching a movie, eating some dinner. Mom was out, so like whenever mom's out, it's like, all right, we're eating in the living room, we're hanging out, we're doing cool stuff because dad's in charge. And so we're like, I didn't totally cop out. Like I reheated food that my wife had meal prepped earlier in the week. It wasn't like I ordered pizza or anything. You know, I'm not some low life dad. I wasn't just ordering food. I reheated stuff that my wife made. But my wife, I love to cook too. So like my wife and I have a good balance of the cooking.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to salvage anything I've got right now as far as not being a total deadbeat dad. But Crosby just like disappeared from the living room, and I'm like hearing noises in the kitchen. And whenever your 2-year-old disappears and you're hearing noises, you're like, if it was like we got a 8 and 6 and a 2, and so if it was the 8 or 6, like I generally know that they know what they're trying to do and they will know when to ask for help. Like they have that sense. I just hear the 2-year-old in the kitchen doing stuff, and I'm like, oh, he's like trying to like clean off his plate or something. Like his plate's not here. He like took it in there, and I'm like, this can't be good. Like he likes to do stuff on his own, but who knows what he's up to in there. And so I'm like, Crosby, what's going on in there, bud? And then in like any 2-year-old, he says some stuff back, and you're like, I have no idea what he just said. It's just like he just makes up his own words. He's like, babadoo badabadoo. You're like, all right, bud, you know, like, that sounds good. Do you need some help? Nope. And I'm just like that sounds more like a yep, and you're just embarrassed about whatever. So I walk in there. We have, you know, like the cabinet that opens up, and then there's a drawer thing that pulls out with the garbage, and he's standing by that. And I look down, and there's a radius of about 6 feet of his food around on the floor. And I'm like, what you doing, bud? Are you cleaning your plate off? And he's like, oh yeah. And I'm like, all right. And then I look in the sink, and there's no plate in the sink or on the cupboard. And I open up the garbage, and his plate and his fork are in the garbage. All the food's on the floor, and I'm like, good job, dude. Way to like try it. And I'm like, should we clean this stuff up? Yeah. Like he's just super affirmative. He just like he's down. He loves it. Like, what are we doing? I'm in. And so I grab a couple paper towels and I'm like about to do it. And he's like, no, me do. And I'm like, all right, man. And so I videotaped him for like a minute and a half, just paper towel in the floor and just moving shit around, like not like actually moving it farther from the garbage. And it just reminded me of like when my daughters try to help me cook, and I'm just like, this is going to take 3 times as long to make, and there's going to be such a ridiculous mess. And if I'm in the right mood, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm just not in the right mood, and I'm just like, no, we're in a time crunch. We got this sports thing, and we got this other thing, and then we're trying to do this, and I have to jump on with Fred, and Mom's not here, so like we just need to get this thing done. It's so funny when you let them help, and half the time you're just like, what have I done?
Yeah.
Why have I gone down this path? And now like this is the life I chose for myself.
Yeah.
After these kids.
You open a whole nother can of worms. Like my son was doing the chicken cutlets, but then he decided he was going to try to eat some of the breadcrumbs. Now my son's going to get salmonella. And it's like my fault. It's like, no, don't do that, bud. You can't do that. I'm like, that's raw. And I'm like trying to explain like that.
Oh yeah, no idea.
So good, man.
It's oblivious. They want to eat everything. And then when like in our 2-year-old, when we don't let him eat the thing that like it's not even an edible thing sometimes, and he wants to eat it. And then it's just the pure like dead weight meltdown on the floor. Like he just melts into the floor and you can't peel him off. It's like, oh, what have I done? But I can't have this kid getting salmonella when my wife's gone.
Not on my
I'm gonna be the asshole. And I'm like, he's the asshole, man. He's the one that ate it. I told him not to.
Yeah.
It's just it's the same reason why not everybody should scale a business. Not everybody's cut out to try to convince incoherent toddler that they shouldn't eat raw chicken crumbs.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all weird.
And you find yourself like, how did I get myself into this situation? Like, all right, well, I just got to work my way out of it.
I got to distract them.
Yeah.
I need to show them something else cool so they go do something else so I can actually cook this meal.
Yeah. My son loves doing science projects. All I know is that just means it's going to be a mess for me, and he's going to use up all the house supplies of everything. We won't have any more Ziploc bags or aluminum foil or like anything anymore. And it's like, oh, but he's doing his science project.
Yeah, in our house, that usually means something's happening in the bathroom, and it involves toothpaste and soap and toothbrushes that need to get replaced. Our cleaners come tomorrow, so there's a couple science projects since the last time they were here that they're going to have some fun with. In addition to I got most of the food cleaned up from Crosby, but I was also like, man, the cleaner's going to be here tomorrow. Like some of this rice is just sliding it back in here. They'll get it. It'll be nice and dry tomorrow for their back. Right now it's still a little tacky. It'll dry out for the cleaners. But well, Fred, man, it's been a joy. I appreciate you hanging out, chatting it up. Ice fishing, man. It's hold on. I'm gonna give you some dates because this is happening. I need to finalize the dates, but I think it's a here's the
You do that local to you? Is that in like Minnesota?
Yeah, so fly into Minneapolis, and we got like a 5-hour drive up north. So usually what happens is people fly in Wednesday, we just all crash at my house. We drive up Thursday morning, we fish the rest of it's like a 5-hour drive. And then by the time you like get the fish house set up, get there, get everything set up, get lines down, we fish Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday all day, drive back Sunday morning, people fly out Monday morning. So it's February, like it's fly in February 12th. So it overlaps Valentine's Day. So you got to take your wife out for Valentine's Day on a day that's not Valentine's Day. If she can handle that.
Yeah, after 10 years, that's fine.
Yeah. Like your wife is probably like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a Valentine's Day to myself and just drink a bottle of wine without Fred. Maybe if we're all up to it's Friday the 14th, when we're all up there on Valentine's Day, we'll all be like, we'll take a live of us drinking wine together.
I'll bring some rose petals.
Yeah. We're having a nice little romantic ice fish house dinner with fried walleye and bush lights. But yeah, February 12th to the 17th. Mark it down. That's what's happening. It's going down.
Right. Well, I'm going to connect with you later, and we'll have to make that happen then.
It's happening. It's happening. It's just here's the thing. It's happening. You got to opt in. It's the same
Okay.
thing I tell when I do my group interviews. You got to opt in, Fred. This thing is happening. You got to decide if you want to be on this bus.
I'm writing it down, and this is even my wife's dad, so she'll probably see it first tomorrow. Ice fishing,
Feb 12th to Feb 17th.
February 12th
Down.
through, what was it, 17th, you said?
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right.
That's when it's down. It's the perfect timing because then like sales boost is the next. Well, home service workshop, the whole with between all the collective stuff is the next weekend.
Yep.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, I'll be down in Orlando for that one too. So awesome.
That'll be a fun one. All right, man.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much for having me, and we'll definitely be in contact about this ice fishing.
It's been a blast. Business nerds, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn yourself some pride. Good night, y'all. Thanks, Fred.
Later, Dan. Have a good night.
You too.